Welcome back to another episode of the Family Album. I'm your host, AJ Tenari.
And I'm Matt Glass.
Last week, we took a look at Kimono My House by Sparks and Pray for the Wicked by Panic at the Disco / Brendan Urie.
I like to view those as sister albums, AJ.
Pretty much.
Like, one is a direct sequel to the other one.
Pray
I'm not going to let you know
Wicked.
which one it is, but
Yeah.
like one is definitely a direct sequel.
And question of the week, which one do you think it is?
Which came first, the kimono or
the
my
Urie?
house? But AJ, I feel a presence in the room
Yes.
after so long.
I know, it has been quite a while, and family heads, old and new, for those who don't know, every other week in the regular format, we bring on a guest who gives us a theme for this week's album. So please welcome Emma Strauss.
Yay! Hello, everybody. It's so good to be here. I'm very excited.
It's great to have you here.
Yeah.
Emma, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Because I know you, but they don't know you yet.
That's true.
Oh, wow. Okay. This is awesome. So I'm Emma Strauss. I'm very excited to be on someone else's podcast because I have a podcast of my own, Lick
right.
the Rapper. But it's different to be like in the
Yeah.
seat. Little nervous, but like so excited. I've been a fan of your podcast for a long time since you started. And
Well, we're
I think
honored.
I think it's just so much fun. I think it's a great concept. And then I don't know what else. I just really
You give like your musical background, taste in music, any kind of like the instruments you play, or just like what you like in general about music.
Cool things you do.
Oh, okay. Jeez. Wow. I really get a lot to go off of. So musical background, I mean, I sing a little bit. I wanted to learn piano, but I can't read sheet music.
That's fair.
And,
Who can? I mean, really. Let's be
yeah.
honest.
That'd be silly.
Oh my goodness. I took a theory class and I wish I liked it more. I used to play guitar. I used to play drums.
Let's go.
Yes.
Fellow drummer.
Yes, which I want to get back into. I think that I would like to be more into the music world, but mainly just singing now. And then just other cool things I do. I have a background in film studies and film production. I write different scripts and screenplays and
You have
other
a
short stories.
Series coming out soon too, as well.
Yeah, I get to plug it. I'm
Yeah.
so excited. Okay, so everybody listening, I'm super grateful that I get to plug it on your show. But I recently shot a docu-series, mockumentary series, and AJ and Matt helped so much.
that's
They
true.
starred in it. They were, we had a very sparse crew. We were like
Yes.
our whole crew, like all of us, but I was so thankful for that. And it was really lovely. It's called Now Entering the Pine Barrens, and you can follow the Instagram by the same name. It's basically just, if you are unfamiliar with the Pine Barrens, it's this little pocket of New Jersey that's just miles and miles and miles of woods. And it has a lot of different folklore around it, particularly the Jersey Devil. So we follow the story of a few park rangers and maybe something else is in the woods and maybe they get up to some shenanigans.
Yes,
there are many
as they
other
do.
things. Yes.
In the Pine Barrens.
Yes,
Pine Barrens.
and it just really is a love letter to the Pine Barrens as well. It's silly, but it's also where I grew up. So I just loved being able to do it and loved putting in little Easter eggs for people from New Jersey. And if you're not from New Jersey, you get to learn a little bit about New Jersey. It's just a really great time. So if you like things that are funny and spooky and all that good stuff, please give it a watch. It will be out, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah,
by the time this episode comes out. Yeah.
So it's out, and
We'll leave links in the description for both
Yes.
Now Entering the Pine Barrens and Lick the Rapper. Check them both out.
Oh, amazing. That's so lovely. And you can, again, follow the Instagram for updates and other behind-the-scenes shenanigans. But yeah, thank you. Great.
So with all that out of the way, Emma, what are the albums and theme that you brought on for this week?
Okay, I'm so excited. This is a little different. So the albums I brought on... First album is The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust, David Bowie. I'm a huge Bowie fan. And then
Classic.
also, this is a little bit different, but I brought on a film score because I really want to talk about film scores and the beauty of film scores. I'll save that for the second part of the discussion, but I brought the film score from Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. So if you are a fan of the movie, please stay tuned. I'm very excited.
Is there a particular reason you chose like the third movie specifically?
Yeah, so I think that with the third film, It sort of encapsulates all of the music from the 3 movies, like all of the trilogy. So I thought it would be good to have on because and I'll talk about it a bit, but Hans Zimmer does a really great job of putting together all of the music from all of the films. So I thought that would probably be the best because you get a sampling of all of the music throughout the films. And I feel that his music really does speak for itself. Like each track, in my opinion, is like a standalone story, but they all work really well together. It was really hard to pick a film score. I almost picked the new Batman film score, which also...
Nirvana. Let's go.
Yes, but he did such a great job with that as well. But I was like between the two. But yeah. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So, what album do you want to start with first then?
I think
Did you say your theme?
Oh, the theme. So, because, yes, thank you so much. So, the theme is From the Stars to the Sea because, obviously Ziggy Stardust and then Pirates of the Caribbean.
Like Ocean and Pirates and such,
So, but I think it would be good to start with Bowie because that's like a little bit more traditional for the show.
Okay. Right. And I think save the most interesting for last, too. So, it definitely would work out.
All right.
Amazing.
Well then, let's just hop right in with a little bit of history. So, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars was released June 16th, 1972 on RCA Records and is the 5th studio album by English musician and cultural icon David Bowie. It tells the story of Ziggy Stardust, an alien sent to Earth to warn them of their impending doom, while also becoming a rock star and sensation before falling from grace after becoming too wrapped up in his own ego. This is the album that put Bowie on the map and made him a household name. Bowie got a start in 1962 and had a vast, influential career that saw him constantly evolving his sound, pushing boundaries both musically and culturally, and creating an unforgettable legacy, and may he rest in peace.
Yeah, that's true. When did he die again? It was
2016?
I was going to say that, or 2017.
Yeah, one of those
He
two.
and Prince kind of like died in
around
like
the
a
same
weird,
time. Yeah.
similar like time frame.
Yeah.
Well, we were both in high school.
Yeah, that's
Emma
right.
and I went to high school together, by the way, for those who don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, but...
Shall we get right into it then?
I think so.
Yeah.
All right. So we start off with 5 Years, and I think it's one of the best album openers of all time.
I would wholeheartedly agree with you.
Yeah, I love the song to death. I think it's fantastic. It does a great job of setting the scene and concept for this album in the way that it just like paints such a vivid picture and just conveying this theme of like impending doom and melancholy all throughout.
I will stand by the statement that this is a no skip every single time it comes on.
Totally.
Because I have this in a playlist that I listen to over and over again. And also, this might be my favorite track on the entire record.
Yeah.
Which is valid. It's really fucking good.
The 4th track used to be my favorite, but then once I listened to this album for the first time while I was in high school, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Just the way it builds from being so like skeletal with that beat that's like...
Yeah, just the drums and a little bit of piano sprinkled in there.
Yeah. Just pounding on that chord on the downbeat. It's amazing. Like, he does such a good job of like setting the world already.
Yeah, and then like the way that it like you said, he just builds and builds before he just wails at the very end with the string section coming in is just so beautiful.
And it's this is like really nice because like I come from like I also have like background in English, so I'm such like a words person.
Yeah.
So it's great because like I was like thinking about the music, but like it's great to have like y'all who are like from more of that musical background, and then like I like dove into like the words
The lyrics.
and like
Thank God, because we suck.
We don't.
really?
We don't look at lyrics very often.
Awful at that. Yeah.
No, I was so excited. I
All
was like,
the
this
fat,
is
skinny people.
Oh, the tall, short people.
That's what I always sing along to. Anyway, continue, Emma.
No, but I just think that when you think about something that's like really apocalyptic, you kind of have a lot of these visions of chaos. And I think that he gives us throughout the album and this song in particular a really good balance. Like it's so poetic. And I love how the point of view switches from like, oh, it's a little kid. And then it's like he's talking to the listener. So it's like he's putting you into the song. And I think that he's like addressing us directly. So it really brings you in. And he does that in a really great way.
It's very well done. And like his vocal performance just is like off the charts on this entire album, but it like from the get-go it's even like incredible just from the jump.
It's so dynamic.
I love how like echoey the vocals are as it sounds like he's kind of like giving this huge announcement like in like a big room, and then like the way he just wails at the end is just a fantastic send-off.
Yeah.
I don't want to like get too ahead, but I will say for what was the year again? 1972. The production on this album is pretty good.
It's crisp as fuck. I love
like,
it.
Oh my gosh. I love so many of the choices where he's like in the center, almost buried in the mix a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I would say more like across the board, the mixes of all the instruments are like pretty thick, especially on the track It Ain't Easy.
Yeah.
But like, oh my God, like I just love the way that his voice somehow like pierces through such a dense instrumental.
It's awesome.
And he holds his own like all across. His vocal performance is just insane.
Yeah.
And I think like whoever mixed it was like, he did a really, really good job.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think it was really bold to open with this. Like, it was interesting to hear y'all say that it's like one of the best like openers, which I agree with, but it's really bold because it's posing this really severe question of like
mortality.
Yeah. And you have 5 years. And I love that this, like a lot of Bowie's work is about change and how like the only constant is change. And I think he gets at the point that the only way to be our true selves and successful in being our true selves is to learn through change. And I think with this song especially, he does that really well because it's not only dealing with like that huge question of like, or like that huge issue of Earth essentially dying, only having 5 years, but you also then get the question of like, what would you do at that time? And then it makes you think about it. And I think that especially because, you know, it was released in 1972, but like so many of us are still grappling with that sort of idea. That's why this feels so relevant and so urgent. Because I think also we're fed this idea like, oh, monotony, like it's just another day, like you always hear that, but like shut the fuck up. Wait, I can curse, right?
Oh yeah, okay, great. Absolutely.
But it's really, I think what Bowie's trying to say is like actually shut the fuck up because it's not just another day, and no day is just another day. And
Boingo,
I think
boingo, yeah, shut the fuck up, okay? Danny Elfman.
Okay, leave him out of this. Leave him out of this. That song bangs.
You didn't listen in the 80s, man. How dare you? No, I'm kidding.
Like I just feel like we take that for granted constantly because we live on this manufactured idea that the mundane and monotony are the only thing that we have. But the only thing that does is keep us in our spaces. It's not actually living. And I think that is what he's getting at here, aside from just the issue of like Earth dying. And you could talk about environmentalism, but
it's breaking like the confines of like mundanity.
Exactly. Because so much of his work is about, you know, finding himself and expressing himself and not being, you know, put
in a box.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
And I think this track is a great example of that.
Yeah.
But if anyone else have anything to say?
Oh, yeah. I love this
The 5
track.
years?
Yeah. Well, so I also found, this might be like a little bit interesting, but I found an interview and he elaborated on it a little bit. And he said, you kind of touched on it before, AJ, but he said, it has been announced that the world will end because of a lack of resources. Ziggy's in a position where all the kids have access to things that they thought they wanted. The older people have lost all touch with reality, and the kids are left on their own to plunder anything. Ziggy was in a rock and roll band, and the kids no longer want rock and roll. There's no electricity to play it. Ziggy's advisor tells him to collect news and sing it because there is no news. So Ziggy does this, and there is terrible news. So I think just the fact that he's also setting it up as a character, I think is really interesting. Like you get one of his 5 personas that he performed as. There's also just really beautiful lines like throughout the whole album. But I love when he says, don't think you knew you were in this song, which again gets at like he's talking to you.
The listener, yeah. That's great.
And it makes it relevant because we're dealing with like a lot of the same issues. And then also the lyric, I felt like an actor. That always like makes me tear up a little bit because like I think about him and I think about his isolation and how he was trying to find himself, but also how we go through so much of our own lives feeling like an actor, and then you're told you have like 5 years. And I don't know, I think the song is a tightrope between feeling that impending doom of the news, but also you get to decide what you do with those 5 years. Exactly. So I think it's like a really interesting,
like the bit of freedom that you have to do whatever you want in a limited amount of time.
Yeah. So yeah.
That was really profound.
That was very profound.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this track so much. I love it.
It's fantastic.
It's one of my favorite pieces of music. So it's really, I think, so bold to open an album that way because it has this very rock and roll glam rock feel, and then it has this really like philosophical question.
Existential dread.
Dystopian even.
Yeah.
But let's not spend 5 years talking about this track.
Good segue.
And let's move on to the next one, Soul Love.
This track fucks.
Yeah, this is a good one.
So good. I love the saxophone.
Oh yeah, totally.
That like pops up in the right channel. I love how it starts off with like claps and drums. Like the drums kind of like take it back a little bit for a little bit of the beginning.
It down.
And then like toward the middle,
it brings it back up in like the choruses, almost in like a punky kind of way.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Yeah.
I was kind of getting that bit of punk influence.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
This isn't one that like I was really ever a big fan of, like my previous listens, but like on this one I definitely appreciate it a lot more.
Oh, same here.
And it almost reminds me of his work on like The Man Who Sold the World. It's like still like remnants from like when he's like in that era, and now he's kind of taking it here but evolving it, which is really cool to see.
Yeah. I think he plays around a lot with point of view also in this, because he's talking about different kinds of love, and then ultimately they all end up being the kinds of love that like wound you instead of heal you, which is interesting that he called it soul love, because if you think of like soul love, it's supposed to be like this kind of love where you're like embracing yourself and embodying your full self, and then he's giving all these examples that are like totally
Not
like
that.
opposite. So he's exploring that. I really like that.
In the story, is this like any kind of significance for Ziggy's like development, or just like any of the plot itself?
Yeah, I mean, I was like thinking about that because I was like taking notes when I was listening. I think that there's that impending doom that's just throughout the album, but I feel like here he's not using the impending doom for just the drama of it. I think he's talking about, you kind of like whenever we deal with any kind of love, there is this sense of impending doom just in love. And then we can also get into our own heads, but there's also, on like the flip side of that, like a huge hope in loving anything, because, there's a hope and a fear, and there's a fear that, everything ends. But then when you love anything, there's a hope, because it's putting your hope before that fear. And I think that's what Ziggy is kind of supposed to stand for. I think he's supposed to be like that hopeful figure, and he's like, like there's still things that are worth it.
Like love, embrace each other. Yeah. Like while we still have the time.
Yeah. And I think that with this track, he's exploring that sort of, and also for his own self-love. I think a lot of the album, like if you listen to like in between the lines, it's about him finding himself in this place, and not just being a figure of hope. So I think that with this song, it's very subtle, but he like gets the message across pretty well.
I agree.
Those of you family heads in the comments, let us know if you've ever touched the flaming dove.
Fellas who out here touching their flaming dove right now.
Oh my god!
She's touching my flame to the dove.
Oh my god!
Welcome to the family album.
We have that explicit tag for a reason.
That's true.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Anything else?
No, I think we can keep going.
All right. Well, next up is probably one of the most iconic tracks from this album, and that's Moonage Daydream, for great reason. This track is phenomenal. I absolutely adore it.
This is probably one of the highest points for the piano.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like this one and another track that kind of does a lot with it. Because I love the way he utilizes piano all across this.
Yeah.
That's kind of like a staple for glam rock in general.
Oh, yes.
But I really just love the way that he does it on here. It's just so like, his vocals on here are just so unapologetically bold.
They're like hypnotic almost, especially with like the psychedelic instrumental in the background. You have like the weird, almost like panpipe, the weird like the flute solo that happens in between, all like the sci-fi imagery. It just feels very cosmic, just very like otherworldly, like feel like being transported. It's brilliant atmosphere. Yeah. And just like the way that like what he's talking about is just so like easy to get lost in.
One of the biggest things that I love about David Bowie is that he definitely like he has one of the most iconic voices in rock history, and usually when like a person's voice like breaks or cracks, it might kind of seem like a hiccup or something like that, but he does it in this way where you could just really like feel the passion. Like I love when his voice breaks, because it's like it's never like distracting. It's just very like you just really feel like he gives a shit
like in the moment
about what he's singing. And he's like really in the character. So I feel like on this track in particular, like vocally, it's probably one of the most astounding examples.
Absolutely.
On this record.
And I think he's like, that was a good word to use, like unapologetic. And he's very, because like I think about Bowie and I think about him a lot. And I was really excited to talk about him. And I think, well, first off with this song, like you have lines like, I'm an alligator.
Like, I'm a mama papa coming for you.
And I was like, and like for years, like I've had conversations with people trying to be like, make sense of that. And like, I think if you think about Bowie, he's having so many of these images that are very clear but seem like they don't go together. But I think he's defining himself in lines that seem confusing and distorted.
Yeah.
But it's because he just doesn't care that if he's understood or misunderstood. And I don't know. I love that about him. I think that with so many musicians, like I always think about examples of people being like, oh, like they're really unserious in interviews and they're like silly and they don't care. But like I think with him, it was just that he didn't feel the need to sell himself. And I think with like this song, it works so well. Like there's so many vocals. There's so many vocals that, like you said, like might, I don't know, like crack or be distorted. But then, and he has these like really obscure lyrics and it's like a lot going on. But, you know, I think that's just like the essence of him. And
Definitely.
I think that's why it works so well. Like I think about him in interviews and like so many times like he would be like it seems like he's being silly and like these lyrics, it seems like he's just doing whatever. But and one of my favorite interview moments, I actually want to get a tattoo of one of his shoes because of this quote, but the interviewer is like, are your shoes men's shoes or women's shoes? And he's just like, without missing a beat, he's like, they're shoes. And I like love that quote,
awesome.
like they're shoes because it wasn't that he was unserious. It was just that he believed in himself and his music enough to let that come through and let the right people find him. And, you know, as an artist, like when you promote yourself, you want it to be like polished and perfect. But with him, he just is like, the right people will find me. And I think that that's really important. And it's a really hard thing to learn. But I think that with this song, it shows that as well. Like he was just like, I don't care if I'm understood. Like the right people will find it.
They'll get it. They'll appreciate it.
Exactly. Exactly.
I think to also add to your point about like the interviews too, because he would kind of just get, if we're talking about like the right people finding him, he would get hounded in interviews about his sexuality by the wrong people constantly.
Exactly.
And I think it's such like a true testament to what you were saying about like the right people finding him through the music and what he's trying to communicate.
Yeah.
Because like the right people will just understand him and not try to
like ridicule him or like accuse him
or like pervert their way into his like personal life.
Yeah.
And because like the wrong people were trying to just like, oh, is he this or is he that? You know what I mean?
So yeah, who cares?
Are those men's shoes? Are they women's shoes? Like, just I don't know. I think you're exactly right about that. Like the right people just won't care. They just see those as shoes.
Yep.
Yeah.
As an example.
Yes.
Well, anything else?
No, I think we can continue.
All right. Next up is one of David Bowie's most popular songs, and that's for great reason. This is Starman, and this is fantastic. This is kind of like I don't know what to say, like the beacon of hope song. Like showing Ziggy as like this godly figure who will save us all. And just like the overall energy is just really beautiful. Like just like the chorus is amazing. I love the kind of different tones within the verses and the choruses where it sounds like almost like a folk tale and like the verses before like actually witnessing it in the choruses. It's a very great balance.
I like playing this one on guitar a lot.
Yeah.
It's just a very nice, like very rhythmic song. I love like the way we're in between, not like in between the verse and the chorus, but like in between like the first part of the verse and the second part of the verse. Yeah. It has that little drum fill. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you want me to do it again?
I would love to do it again.
Yeah, let's do that again.
Matt, you're turning into an instrument.
Oh yeah.
Your iconic ability.
It's like how Mr. Boss from Smiling Friends can't switch back from being a dog.
It's
perfect.
And Matt's currently a snare drum right now.
Yeah, you guys can't see it, but
no, I love this song. This song used to be my favorite track on the record until I heard the opener.
Yeah.
Just I love the way he vocalizes like the melody of the bow 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 bow, just going like la la la,
singing along with it.
It's just I don't know. I feel like it just adds to this whole like free spirited nature, even though these people are like really investing all their hopes and dreams and like
into this one person,
this character known as Ziggy. The strings on here are
they're immaculate.
So lovely.
They're beautiful.
They are lovely.
Yeah.
And that little guitar solo at the end.
Yes, he's just grooving. Like I love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much. It's so like the serotonin I get from listening to this song. I have this experience with a lot of Bowie songs where I'm like, I wish I could listen for the first time again. And I know it's not on this album, but Life on Mars, I had like a moment where I was like, I need to sit down after that. Like that's one of my absolute all-time favorite songs, but this one is like close, like especially with Bowie. Like I love, he just utilizes, like you were talking about like the music and how it's like so hopeful, but he translates that into the music. And then like I love that he has lines where he's like he's talking about like the children and he's like, yeah, like don't let them lose it, but he's also like, let them boogie.
Yeah,
like I
let 'em be
love
free.
that. It's so good. Like it's just, like I was like thinking about like other lyrics, and he again, like it's a very upbeat and very like happy song, but again he's so profound. And I think with Bowie's music it's easy to get like lost in like all of like the rest, but if you're sitting and like listening to it, I love his idea where he writes, there's a starman waiting in the sky and he'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. It's so good, but it makes you think of how the things that are supposed to save us, and yet if we aren't ready for them, they can't actually save us. And he's waiting, but you know, with that being said, he's also saying like, don't blow it. And he's saying, you know, but because he knows it's all worthwhile. And it's like, I love that because it's like, he's saying don't blow it because, and like, don't lose it because he has hope for the people and the world. And he knows that on the other side of being saved, there's so much more that's worth it.
Exactly.
And like, just not to fuck it up essentially. But I love that idea. And he's still waiting because he's like, y'all aren't ready yet. But, you know, so I think it just, he again, I feel like is very philosophical in that sense. And it's easy to miss because you're just like grooving. But I think with this song especially, he also adds some more of that back into it. So I love that. I love that for so many of his lyrics, but especially that.
Yeah. This has been a very enlightening episode so far because I adore this album. It's probably my favorite David Bowie album. And you're just picking up on things like these deeper philosophical ideas I would have never thought of.
Amazing.
So thank you.
That's awesome.
Wait till we get to the next album.
Oh boy. No, y'all aren't ready. Like, I'm so sorry in advance. Like, I'm going to be a monster in the best way. So excited. But yeah.
Well, with that exciting preview, shall we move right on to the next track then?
Yes.
Next up is It Ain't Easy, often regarded as probably the weakest track on this album. I'm inclined to agree. Yeah.
Really?
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
I completely disagree.
Yeah.
I think
love
it's
this
cool,
track.
but I think like I see where they're coming from. It doesn't necessarily fit sound-wise with the rest of the album, going for more of this kind of gospel rootsy soul thing over the glam.
I can kind of see that a little bit.
But I still just, I think it's like fine. I think there's no bad track on this album whatsoever.
Oh,
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think it's like a really cool kind of split with Bowie and like the choir that comes in the chorus.
Yeah.
How it goes from this kind of like very rootsy, bare bones verse into this like super hard rocking chorus. It's a very awesome like juxtaposition.
Yeah, I have like vivid memory of like leaving work when it was very difficult and screaming this song as I'm driving home. Like, it's so good. Yeah.
I love the way like in the verses before the chorus, it's like it really like punches you.
Yeah.
But like I love like when he's singing the verses.
Yeah.
There's like sort of this what instrument is that? Sounds like a harpsichord, but I think it might just be like a guitar.
Some kind of guitar, like
where
a
like the
mandolin or
treble
something.
is like really like high. But it almost sounds like a harpsichord, which is kind of dope.
Which is one of my favorite instruments.
Dude, Pops plays it in a regular show. You
Yeah,
can't beat
yeah.
That's
that.
true.
Yeah.
It's a fire hazard. The harmonies on the chorus are so
They're
lush.
amazing.
And I always love the way he stacks harmonies all across the board on like all of his albums.
Totally.
It's so cool too. Like I'm more used to hearing his like 80s stuff because I listen to the Let's Dance album quite often. Hearing him sing higher is so like refreshing.
I love Bowie's vocal style in this era specifically.
Yeah.
Like the more nasally kind of like delivery is my personal favorite.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And this is the one where I was saying like his vocal like style and character, it just pierces through this instrumental.
Especially just because like he's like wailing like on the verses, which
Yes.
is awesome. Like from the get-go, he's just like showing his like personality, just like really shining through, which is awesome.
I'm not entirely sure which was around first, but this song kind of reminds me of like a track that the Eagles would sing
Okay.
a little bit, kind of from like the
maybe.
more soulful harmonies.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
I
Like,
could be wrong, but I think Bowie predates Eagles, or at least this album should. I don't know. In the description.
That was what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Like I feel like
So the Eagles took inspiration.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
Not that they got it from the Eagles. Bowie saw the future.
Well, I know around the same time T-Rex was just released, I think, Get It On.
There's a song about him on this album.
Yeah, so that's why.
there is.
Yeah, this one kind of just like like smacks you in the best way.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
really hits you in the face because and
I
like
literally wrote that.
yeah, really?
Totally.
I literally wrote that.
Well, because
It punches
too, I
you.
think like with that argument where it's like it's not
Sorry, that's a punchy.
Oh my god, my catchphrase.
Add to the counter.
Oh my god, we got one.
Oh my god.
Ring the alarm.
Y'all need a bingo card. Like a little
We do.
We
for all of
should
our
that would
bits.
be so
Honestly,
good.
why haven't we thought of that?
Because we're not smart like Emma.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Listen, I'll make y'all one.
Yes.
I'll be the assistant.
Oh, we do need a new intern.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, our intern
Rest in
died.
peace, Kyle.
Yeah, really.
But yeah, like I guess like the argument where it's like it doesn't fit in with the glam rock. Like I think that it's just what the album needed.
Yeah,
I
totally.
think it like comes in and it just like
switches
throws
things up.
you.
Yeah.
And like again, like his lyrics are just so like they hit you. Like the whole "it ain't easy to get to heaven when you're going down."
Yep.
Like I love that. Like I love that so much. And I feel like this album is so relevant now. Like when I was having a re-listen of it and like sitting with it and thinking about it for a while, I was thinking about it. I'm like, this is so relevant because like I feel like the world or like even our country has these like idealized notions of like what heaven is or what we should want. Like if you think of things like the American dream, because like I know that he uses like a lot of that imagery in this album. I think that, you know, or whatever idea you want to fill into the blank, these things just aren't attainable, even though they're told to us that they should be.
Like the primary goal.
Yeah, exactly. And it's because I wrote about like when I was like listening, I was thinking about how the idea that it's easier to dream something than to actually do it.
Exactly.
And the reason why these things aren't attainable, and I think Bowie understood that really well, especially with this song, is because these dreams were dreamed up by other people and they weren't dreamed up by us. So he's saying like, you need to get out there and dream your own dream or else it's never going to be attainable. So, again, he just really hits you. Like he's like coming out here. I love this album. It makes me tear up because it's just so many of these like philosophical, just like really amazing things that he writes into his lyrics. And like people are always like, oh, he's just like being a little silly. He's an alligator. And I'm like, no, guys, actually.
Look beyond the alligator.
Yeah.
So silly. He's an alligator.
Yeah.
I don't know why that just got me so bad.
Well, yeah, but people don't get past that. But like again, the right people find him, and they sit and talk about it.
They know what the alligator means.
Yeah, here on the Family album, we know what the alligator means. Put that on a
Question
shirt.
of the week. Do you know what the alligator means?
IYKYK. You know what I mean?
But yeah, I
man.
just love that. He's so great at that, and it like trips people up, like, you know, rightfully so. But I love that he does that. He just doesn't give a shit. He's just like, okay,
Just him.
Yeah, so good.
Next up, we move on to one of my favorite tracks on the album, Lady Stardust.
Yes.
I would
I
agree.
love this track so much.
This is one of the best rock ballads I've ever heard.
Absolutely.
Genuinely.
Yeah.
And I know you're not usually a big ballad guy.
Not really.
Like, this is so full of, like, character and, like...
Just like the setting, like the atmosphere, just how cozy the song sounds with like that lounge style piano.
Yeah, the piano in this is so good.
beautiful.
I wrote that with like exclamation
Yeah.
points.
This was the other one where I said that it felt like it was really embellished.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, because his vocal performance on the choruses are brilliant. I just love just how like he just like kind of wails and just sings with such passion.
Yeah.
And like the sentiment's just like really sweet too. He's just like talking about this like person, like his colleague that he admires. And it's also funny. You mentioned something previously, probably about like the right person being right or like him being silly. And like since the song is about like T-Rex, who's a man, or who was a man, the song's called Lady Stardust. It's just playing with like these like ideas and like kind of straying from the norm. And like T-Rex doesn't care. He's like very similar.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
Yeah, I like how he explores the gender fluidity. And again, he's kind of like, who cares? First off, like you waste so much energy like trying to like figure that out. And he's like, just let people be people. But I love the way that Bowie does it, especially because it's not like he's like, even in interviews, it's not like he was like, oh, I'm here, I'm being different.
Yeah.
He's saying, no, it's actually really normal. Like, this is a normal way to be, and it's a healthy way to be. So, like, with this song, like, I love that. I know, like, just like a little bit of history. In 1967, same-sex acts were legalized in London and Wales. And then 1972, which is when this was released, was the first Pride Parade in London.
Gotcha.
So I think that this song is just so interesting to me for that aspect, like considering all of that and like the historical context. But it really does put into perspective, like, he was just trying to say like, this is like, he's not out here with this song and he's not trying to brand himself as like different. He's just like,
this is just how it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if he's going to be different, it's just because of other people's ideas of what's supposed to be normal. So I love this song for that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And just the way it sounds is also just a plus.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's such an earworm too.
I know.
That melody, like it really gets like nice.
It's really quite out of sight, one might say.
It's all my hoochie coochie women out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a lyric on one of the previous tracks.
Yeah, I know.
I just don't want people to think I was just randomly saying that.
That you have a hoochie coochie woman. We bring her into the studio.
Question of the week: will you be my? Just it doesn't matter who answers. No, I'm kidding.
Ask Tom next time.
No, I'm good.
Who knows what might come out of that boy's mouth?
I'm good. I don't want to say the word coochie near Tom ever. God knows what he would say in reply.
I'm scared.
Well, even though Tom may be a star,
Oh,
not
God.
as much as this next track.
That was really good.
I'm the king. What can I say?
It's true.
Oh my God.
He is him.
That's true. That's me.
Oh my God.
Ziggy Stardust.
Oh my God.
This is a track I grew to really appreciate the more I listened to this album.
Yeah.
I used to not like it, but I really like it a lot. It's very kind of like retro 50s rock and roll with that piano just being like so like up in front. And it's just like really fun all around, just talking about like Ziggy being a rock and roll star.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I love how it's like he opens again with, he kind of plays with like point of view in like a different way here, but he's talking about different people that want to make a difference in the world. But then eventually they all just come together with music, which I think is really great because it's like an ode to glam rock, I think, especially the whole album. But I think this especially, he's like, people just trying to make a difference. And he's like, but actually it's the music that can, and the music that can bring us together. So I love that just about this song. So
I would agree. I think it is a very, very fun track. I'm quite not at the level of like enjoying it as much as the other ones yet. Upon the few listens that I've had, I find it like a little repetitive.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you said that It Ain't Easy was considered to be the weakest track, because I would have said that this one was possibly going to be like considered the weakest track.
Yeah, me from a few years ago would have also agreed with you.
I'm just not there yet.
Yeah, I've matured.
yeah, catch up. Sorry. I'm joking.
No, it's all good. No, I think the song is pretty good for what it is, though.
Yeah,
I mean, like 7 tracks in, it's better than what I could do. You know what I mean?
I just think it like has like a really nice structure, like especially during the bridge when it has like the triplet drum fills after each like stanza, and then the way it like slows down to like this very like almost halftime beat into like the just really slow intimate vocals with just Ziggy is really, really cool.
Yeah.
I just like how the song just feels all together.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm ready to keep going.
Simple enough. Well, hang on to yourself, Max. We're moving on to the next track. You can't stop me when I'm on fire, dude. All right.
This song, I do like this one. I'd probably say, again, in the grand scheme of things, like this isn't one that like I'll probably go to right away.
Yeah, in the upper echelons of the Stardust tier list.
In the upper echelon of the spiders from Mars. No, I do like this one. The glam rock, it really reminds me of Wild and Untamed Thing from Rocky Horror.
Oh yeah,
like so much.
Good.
Which I've been in such a Rocky Horror like headspace.
Tis
which
the
is
season.
Yes.
And tis going to be
relevant
in a couple weeks. Family heads.
Stay tuned for that, family heads.
It's very good. I love the energy on this one.
Yeah,
and it's just
apologies. I'm a little sick, so my voice is going in and out. So bear with me, family heads.
You were saying about the chaotic energy, like this song. It's interesting because part of me wants to argue that this song, like he's saying, like hang on to yourself, like don't get lost in the stardom of being famous and being, but it's also about freeing yourself. And I've heard people like talk about this song and talk about how it was like a metaphor for masturbation, which is something else that should also be normalized. And and I think that like he just did it in a way that was just very like just free yourself, and like he's also with that, so like freeing yourself, he's like inviting people along for the ride. And like maybe
so come on.
Yeah.
We really got a good thing going.
And maybe he's saying like, but you also should hang on because it's not going to be easy to do this. It's not easy to free yourself.
It ain't easy.
Yeah.
One might say.
And then I just love his images again. I noted a few, but we move around like tigers on Vaseline.
Yep.
Like, who comes up with
know.
that? It's so
It's
good.
awesome.
And she's a tongue twisting storm, which like, please someone describe me like that, because geez, that's freaking awesome. And then she will come to the show tonight praying to the light machine. Like, that's like amazing. Like, he's just so masterful. And like, I don't know, people sometimes are like, his lyrics don't make sense, and I'm like, okay, well, you don't
make sense.
Yeah,
okay.
it's like, you don't need to listen to him then.
Literally.
Yeah.
This is a little bit of a side tangent, but Emma and I have talked about this guy numerous times. There's this one TikToker. His name is Peter Rugman.
Oh, yes.
He does a lot of covers of like 60s, 70s, I think even a little 50s.
Okay.
He's based in the UK.
Gotcha.
And he does
He's a really great musician.
and he does a killer David Bowie impression.
nice.
Yeah.
Like it's so funny because he comes up with like the David Bowie inspired lyrics.
Yeah.
One of them is just like oh wait, what is it? It's like
It's go ahead.
it's like have you seen that little old man buckling both his shoes?
I think Bowie's here with us.
Yo, well, everyone. Oh, back from the grave, David Bowie.
That's crazy.
him.
We got David Bowie before we got
Yeah.
Kyle.
The ghost
Yeah.
of David Bowie.
What was the other? It's
It's
do you
like,
want me to do it, or you want to do it?
it's up to you. It's your
He's
episode.
like, well, he goes through like the eras of Bowie, which I
Yeah.
think is really funny because he's like, this is him, but he's like, mother can't contain herself when the vicar wears his striped trousers.
That's
It's me
spot
in
on.
the sweetie shop.
It's so good.
Custard cream and trinkle tots.
Yeah, but he's so good at it, and he's also a really good musician.
He's really
like,
good at
you should
guitar.
look him up.
Nice.
Yeah, he does his own stuff, but I feel like he really gets to like the root
Yeah,
of it.
the core of Bowie.
Yeah.
Peter Rugman, for those
Peter
who want to
Rugman.
look him up on TikTok.
Check him out.
He's very
Yeah.
funny, but he's
Peter
also
Rugman.
a very good musician.
Yeah.
Come on our podcast.
Yes.
That'd be sick.
That would be
I would
awesome.
love to have him on
Yeah.
the podcast.
We know you're listening.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, overseas real
Yeah.
quick.
We're
Across
just
the pond.
Across they say.
Yeah.
we're just establishing our demographic. All of our listeners are in Spain
Yep.
and then the UK, just not here in America.
And every celebrity does listen to our podcast. That's canon.
That's
Yeah.
true. John
Yeah.
Stamos,
Yeah.
Vice President Dick Cheney.
Yeah, we said Dave Grohl at one point. I don't know about now if that's the best time. Rest in peace, the Foo Fighters.
Oh my god.
But I like the song. I think
It's
it's a
very
lot of
good.
fun.
Yeah.
I like the guitar riff a lot. Just kind of chugs along. Very, very cool song.
Yeah.
But next up is one of my personal favorites from the album. We got Ziggy Stardust. Close thing to a title track on here. I think it lives up to it greatly. Just telling like the story of the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust.
Yeah.
And it's really fun.
This is a damn good song.
Yeah.
I hope somebody will one day describe me as the Naz.
The Naz.
The Naz.
With God-given ass.
I was like writing lyrics to talk about. I'm like that. I just love that. Like that.
Well
there's-
hung with a snow white tan.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Bowie.
Yeah, and I love that like you have lyrics like that, but you get like this like Icarus kind of metaphor where
Yeah.
he's like he
Yeah.
went too far,
Mhm.
which just
Making
love
love
that.
with his ego.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, that was weird.
No. Jinx.
Guess we got a kiss now.
Oh boy.
That's what the fans been waiting for.
Guys, they just did it. You couldn't see.
Season 3.
Oh my god. You have like a late night special.
Season 3. Look at the bang. Oh, it's so
Oh my
funny.
god. Third base for season 3.
Amen.
Oh boy.
Merch, anyone?
Yeah.
I love-
Tom's just like in the room. Like
He's
just like
he's always watching,
Yeah,
always dressed as
yeah.
Superman.
I love how lyrically they say all this stuff. Like he like dies, and then
Yeah.
he's like, "But okay, yeah, he played guitar."
Damn, could he play guitar?
Well, like I think too, he's like, does he know? Like he comes to Earth and he's like, does he know it's gonna work? No,
Yeah.
they have 5 years. It's like finite, but he still plays music, and he's like, I don't care. Like I love that. I don't.
He's just doing his best.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and I like too though, because this like it's about Ziggy Stardust, but it doesn't end the album, which
No.
I like because
Yeah.
it's sort of saying like, but it's not over, which I
Yeah.
really appreciated because easily he could have just been like, this is the final.
Because we still have the spiders from Mars, of course.
Yeah.
That's true. We gotta know what happened to them.
Yeah, which I
Yeah.
think the song is from the point of view of them. And I like how the song is honestly framed. It sounds almost like an interview, kind of interviewing the band members as they just describe Ziggy Stardust posthumously.
Oh yeah,
like all the things that led up to his downfall, and like how they had issues with him, and like when they talk about the issues, it goes to like the punkier choruses and like with getting out all that angst. It's really like well done.
Yeah,
both like musically and conceptually.
It says like explicitly in the lyrics, like we were in his band, right?
Yeah.
I think that it was like somewhere in the beginning.
And we were Ziggy's band.
Everybody today. He's here.
It's a Bowie fest.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and they don't give comments because it's but if people want to
on YouTube.
If people want to say today who gave the best Bowie impression, please.
Oh, that could be our poll on Spotify too.
Yes, please let us know.
And if you want Tom to do one, we'll figure it out.
I'm not doing that.
But yeah, please let us know. I'm curious. Yeah.
I really like this track a lot. I think it's fantastic.
I agree. And that's just such a good, like you get, again, like because he performed with like, I think 5 well-known personas. And I like love that. I love, like as someone that comes from like a makeup and special effects background and costuming background, like I think that it's just so cool. And that's such an interesting choice to perform that way.
Characters and alter egos and like their relevance to like the sound that he's going for. It's such a good idea.
And all of his costumes were always so thought out. Like just really cool. Like he was really attuned to like everything, like the whole instead of just pieces, which
Do you have a favorite persona?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, we're talking about Ziggy.
Ziggy's like iconic.
Yeah, Aladdin's also good.
Yeah. Aladdin's very good.
Electric.
So
Thin White Duke, controversial.
Oh, yeah.
But still,
I know.
Station to Station is brilliant. Yeah. Phenomenal album.
I would love to make all of his costumes. That would be so sick.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
The one from Hunky Dory is also pretty cool.
Yeah.
I also kind of like how that one's also pretty like glam rocky.
Yeah, totally.
Especially because on the track Changes.
Yeah.
But like
that's also a favorite.
Definitely. I like how that one is a bit more of like a straight tone.
Yeah.
Like he has a lot of range in terms of like the themes he sings about and like the sort of personas that he puts on.
The style of music also like always reflects that, which is beautiful.
Yeah. And like you were saying, like Changes, like I sang that for like an event, but it's like so interesting, and then we can get back to the album, but it's so interesting because like you have this album and then you have something like Changes and like you think like it's a pretty straightforward song. It's actually like deceptively difficult. Like he's so good at that. Like he makes it sound so easy, and then like you go to do it and you're like, oh, I'm not David Bowie.
Why can't it be him?
You're
you
like,
turn and you face the strain. Let me tell you.
I want that as a tattoo. I'm just gonna be covered in Bowie tattoos.
That's respectable.
Yeah.
Bowie
Any
face
tattoo
tat.
artists out there, like, listen.
Yo,
if
get
you
the
wanna,
lightning bolt.
Yeah,
Ground
right on my
control
face.
to
Yeah.
Major Tom.
So good. Love it. But we can get back to the album. Sorry for the side tangent.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Anything else?
We're full of that on this.
Oh,
yeah.
great.
We're
Okay,
stupid.
good.
Yeah. Anything else about Ziggy Stardust, or should I move on to this
Just that
penultimate
he
track?
had God-given ass.
I mean,
one can dream.
I think it was as.
Dr. Tatum.
Yeah, my New Jersey accent. I'm like, ass.
Doctor's ace.
Charlie, the doctor's ass.
Frankie was well hung. Snow White fan.
The doctor's ass.
Oh my God.
Next up, we have Suffragette City. This is a banger. It's a David Bowie classic.
Literally.
So good.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
Just leave me alone.
Yeah. I love, it's just so coded in bisexuality.
Absolutely.
Love
Yeah.
it. I love it. The complexities, but also the duality of bisexuality, which I appreciate. Bowie was definitely one of those artists that like made me really comfortable with my own sexuality.
Yeah.
Like because he just did it in a way that was so organic and so himself. But you know, love any song about sexual liberation. We need more of that.
Yeah.
You know, I also like how his voice is doubled.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think that adds like a very interesting aspect to it, and a very, for your ears, just they're like layers. I always like talk about music in layers. I don't know.
Hey, man, we're back. I like this song quite a bit. I almost covered it for a gig that I played last week.
Wow.
Which was a lot of fun to learn. We didn't end up playing it because we ran out of time.
Oh, I would have loved to have heard that.
That would have been sick.
It was really fun. Our guitarist, Tim, fucking killed the solo. Might be appearing on the podcast in the future. So
That'd be really
That
fun.
would be really cool.
keep a lookout for that.
Yeah.
But I just love just how full on glam this song is.
So
Just
good.
straight ahead rocking. You have like the beautiful guitar solo that happens in between. I love how it just keeps like building and building. And even though the melody's like very repetitive, it's just so good you just don't really care.
Yeah.
Nah, exactly. I kind of like how this track picks up the pacing like to the last one too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, because the last one definitely had some energy, without a doubt.
Yeah, but it brings it down very much.
Yeah. I love the phrasing of the things that he says on this track.
Yeah.
Like people being like blam blams, wham bam, thank you ma'am.
Yeah,
Like,
I love how he says it. Can we hear?
oh, we're doing more?
Well, I just would like to, it's just so good.
Oh, ma'am, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah, Matt, that was really good.
Thanks. Yeah. I take pride in my impressions.
it's so good. That's really good.
She's really good.
Oh my god.
What's that from?
Camp Rock.
Camp Rock.
Oh,
When she's
yeah.
like on
Camp
the
Rock.
mixer and she's obviously not DJing at all.
Oh, Allison Stoner. You should come on our podcast. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
know you're listening.
Yeah. Every celebrity.
I cried if she was listening.
Yeah. Ziggy Stardust listens too.
Yeah,
so
that's
I mean,
true.
guys, come on.
Shout out Ziggy.
If you're not listening, what are you doing actually?
He's like the spiders from Mars.
He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds.
Yeah, that he would.
Well, that's Starman.
What were we talking about?
I think we were just finishing up Suffragette City, and then we were coming on. No.
Oh. Hey, Liberation. Bowie said it
Wait,
first.
yeah.
It's true.
It was, that whole song, what it's about.
Yep.
Anyway.
I think Suffragette City is a brilliant penultimate track. I think it's definitely deserved for like one of Bowie's most popular songs.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
One more like kind of music note I wanted to say. I
That's
love
a funny pun. Sorry.
I love the
just ruined
accented
it.
I love the accented
Sorry, guys. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the one thing I had to say.
God, if this was a video podcast, I
They
feel like that would
they
have been
both looked at me like,
that would I didn't realize AJ
sorry. I ruined it.
One
okay,
more
it was funny.
thought that I had about this song was that I really like the way that there's like that accented hit on the triplets between the chorus and the verse. It's just such a nice like little like
Brain scratching moment.
oh my god, yeah.
I love it.
Also so catchy.
Yeah, and it's one thing
So
for an
catchy.
album to like have a few songs that do that, but I feel like everyone he does really unique like musical techniques, and like
Definitely.
he builds on what he knows, but also like isn't afraid to like experiment. Yeah.
We're going to make our way out of Suffragette City as we roll into the closer of this album, Rock and Roll Suicide. And I think this is, just like the opener, one of the best album closers of all time. This track is beautiful.
It kind of like I feel like tone wise and kind of like song like I don't want to say arrangement, but like musicality wise, I feel like it almost kind of bookends the album very well.
Oh, absolutely.
With the
yeah.
with the way that yet again there's the strings are just so prevalent in the mix.
It starts very bare before
Yeah.
building up.
I'm happy that he finished with this too, because it's so many of these tracks they tell a story, and it's funny because they're like smaller pieces of story, but they
Yeah.
all go still with the same. And you have Ziggy, who's like so full of hope, and then now he's just been corrupted by superficiality. And I think it's interesting too because it's like a conversation, like he's talking to himself,
Yeah.
and he's like looking back, and he was talking to the audience like prior, but now he's talking to himself. So I feel like it's a really nice way to end. Yeah.
Like the introspection of Ziggy.
Yeah.
And just like the overall, like the way the song sounds, how it like sounds so hopeful at the very end. When like all those strings come in, though he just screams at the end, just yelling along, and you have the backup vocalist going wonderful, echoing him. And just the segue into that section, the "Oh no, love, you're not alone," that gets me every time.
Yeah.
It
I
makes
love
me
that
tear
lyric.
up.
It's emotional.
Yeah.
So good.
I also, this is another kind of side note I want to say. This song and another one, the key changes on here feel very deserved, like all
Absolutely.
across the album.
Yeah.
I think we've covered a lot of different songs that have like really undeserved key changes. And I really felt like they weren't fatiguing or like annoying in this instance.
He always makes them work.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a all around great closing track for a great album. And that'll bring us to our final thoughts. So, Emma, what are your final thoughts on the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars?
Just so, I mean, like as we've discussed, I think that like he's so great at having so much of this glam rock, which it can be in your face, and it is very much in your face. You can't really shy away from it, which I love. He has these really beautiful, softer moments that he isn't afraid to put into the album. But then he also is great at adding these really poetic tellings of, you know, the world ending. He really gets to the essence of humanity. He has so many really great visuals, just just there for you, and it makes you feel like you're part of it. And he talks about humanity, and he talks about people. Like, he takes the time. Like, he has one lyric, I think it's in 5 Years, like talking about someone just having a milkshake.
Yep.
And he just brings you to the ground. And it's interesting because with something that's so space forward, like, you'd think that it would be really out there, but he brings you right there with him. And I think that it's just one of his best albums. It's one of his strongest because of that. Like, as we've established, so many of the tracks are just so strong and so beautiful. And I think it's a combination between the music and his unapologetic lyrics as well as structure.
Personality.
And he's not afraid to take risks. So I think that it's well deserved as being one of his most popular.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
If you had to give it like a ranking of any kind, like a letter grade, and maybe like on a scale of 1 to 10, what you would rank it?
So like letter, just
on like a tier list, like A, B, C, D.
Probably like
with S being like the highest.
Supreme.
Oh, S is the highest?
Yeah.
S, man.
Yeah.
It's Bowie.
That's true.
I love Bowie. Love him. I just think that anytime people aren't afraid to take risks and do something really different, I think that it's just, and like he does it in a way that's just so organic. It's not like he's like
forcing anything.
Not at all. It's
that's just Bowie.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Matt, what are your thoughts?
God, what is left to say about how amazing this album is? Like, the way that he's able to utilize such an in-your-face genre as glam rock and pair that with these sci-fi elements that are also flashy in nature. I feel like it's so weird how oddly niche of a pipeline the combination of the two are. Because like they work so well hand in hand, as seen in like productions like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I feel like he kind of was one of the people who like paved the way for that to be so successful.
Like, it's still like very early in glam's career.
And to show people that like they marry so well together. So, I mean, it's so imaginative, like the themes and like the instrumentation. Production wise, it sounds immaculate. Like, oh my gosh, I love so many of the techniques that are used. I love how many times in this record that like certain instruments are more like prominent in like one
left
channel than like the other channel. He plays around with that so much. I also love just the random like instrumental techniques where he'll make like string instruments sound like these weird like creepy sounding trills.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
So all across the board, he used like these unconventional techniques, but in like this way that doesn't feel fatiguing or like just playing like, I don't know, too much.
Yeah.
Just
everything just worked.
I can't honestly praise this album enough, and I might have to join you on this and say that it's an S tier. I would probably say like it's almost like a 10 out of 10. I would say like maybe like a 9.8, only because like two of the tracks I'm not like I don't really listen to them like too much. But I mean, even the ones that I don't listen to that much, the rest of the album is just fabulous. Like, oh my gosh, even those two tracks are good.
Yeah,
they're just not my favorite. There's not my personal favorite. You know what I mean? But like, oh my gosh. And his vocals, like Jesus Christ,
he's David fucking Bowie.
He's David fucking Bowie. The Naz with the God-given As, bringing a little pizzazz.
Oh boy,
Matt's going off. Oh dear,
spitting rhymes.
It's an awfully hot coffee pot.
Get Andrew in here. We need Smokestack's feature.
Smokestack. I forgot that was his name. But yeah, S tier, like 9 in the 9s.
Yeah, high
out
9s.
Of 10, high 9. This album is like borderline. It's textbook.
Yep,
it's a textbook like album for this genre.
Definitely like decade defining as well. Like this album, phenomenal. I would say almost perfect.
Yeah.
It's just from the get-go, you get just such a great sense of like the concept and like the themes that Bowie's going for, and he explores them in all these like different lenses and different like sounds. Even though it's still sticking to glam rock, it's all in these like different styles with different instrumentals. And like you said, the production techniques, like now that you mention it, they are very unconventional for the time, especially on like tracks like Moonage Daydream. Like that's just like so out there and like cosmic feeling, just so grandiose. While like the rest of it is like a little more stripped back, like very crisp, but very like of its time. But it's still just so engaging and interesting. And Bowie's just such like a captivating personality to listen to through and through. And his vocal styling are just like very emotional. Like you can just resonate with them no matter what he's saying. And the story concept is present, but it's like loose enough to come up with your own interpretations and like get your own meaning from it, which I think is really nice and very in line with what Bowie always thought.
It's loose enough for the right people.
Exactly.
To receive the message that he's trying to send
Yeah,
across.
portray. The instrumentation is fantastic throughout, with specific highlights going to the guitar, strings, sax, and piano. Like they're like the ones that carry, but the bass lines are also still
They are pretty good.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Like when they're prominent, like they're really
Yeah.
fucking good, especially on Suffragette City. Love that bass line. Yeah, all in all, I'm on the S tier train. It's fucking fantastic. My favorite Bowie album.
Yes, so good.
Hell yeah.
But as you know, family heads, we always bring 2 albums on the normal show. So, shall we hop right into Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End?
I'm so excited. I just, like, if it's okay, I need to just go.
Please.
So
Go off.
I know that this is really like not traditional for y'all. So I'm like super thankful I get to talk about it. You know, I kind of thought it would be really funny to have y'all listen to just pirate music. Like picture you guys driving around listening to pirate music. But
I
that's
did do that.
obviously
I did too.
Yeah, but I mean this isn't the reason why. So it's an interesting exercise because I, you know, come from a background in film studies and film production. And then anytime people talk about the basics of film, they always talk about what's in the scene, the setup, the costumes. You know, you dissect shots.
Mise en scène.
Exactly. All that good stuff, which is really important. But I think that you hardly ever get a breakdown of music.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that isn't talked about enough. Other than like, I know, like, you know how like obviously people always have those edits of like Darth Vader to party rock and they're like music makes a difference, and I'm like yes obviously, but that's like not what I'm talking about.
It's very exaggerated
example.
example.
Exactly. This is not what I am talking about. There's so much more to like a film score, and like personally when I watch a film, if a film score is good, that's how I know it's going to be a good film. And I think it's because of the attention to detail, that like little extra mile of paying attention to your music and what you're putting out there. And I think that when composers are able to do that, it adds so much. Like Hans Zimmer obviously did this album. And, you know, I feel like when he makes his tracks, he treats them like a character, which is very successful. And he's mindful of the other music in the film. And I think if you sit down and you listen to a film score, like whatever it is, I know that me personally, like in my Spotify Wrapped, it's always film scores. Like I listen to film scores the most out of all music. But I think if you sit down and you dissect it like you would a shot, it speaks so many more volumes.
Yeah, because like there are tracks on this album that tell like full stories based off like just the way like the music develops.
Exactly. And I think it's interesting too, like so many of these tracks, and like I'll obviously get into it in a bit, but like if you never saw the movies, I mean, like full disclaimer, I've seen these movies so many times, and like my end goal is to become a professor and teach people about pirates. So
fuck yeah.
Amazing. I love that response. But like that's the thing, like so I've seen them, but I think if you would sit down and like you either haven't seen the films in a while, or if you haven't ever seen them, which please do, like what
This really made me want to rewatch all of them.
Up until this episode,
so...
I've never seen any of the movies.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, are you lying?
I'm not, like, I literally watched the first 2 at work like the past 2 days just because like of the soundtrack.
But we love Davy Jones. We
I know. And now I finally can put a reason as to why we love Davy Jones.
I just
AJ!
Yeah.
I like forgot. I was gonna. So for a little bit of background for what they're talking about.
Oh my
so
God.
Emma and AJ one time came over to my house for a little game night, and I have a Disney, an authentic Disney
One of a
Infinity,
kind. Oh my
turn of the
God.
century,
Quintessential.
classic Disney Infinity gaming set for the Wii, to which Davy Jones was one of the characters I wanted the most because I love Davy Jones.
Don't we all?
He's very cool. And I was just joking around one time. I was like, AJ, if you win this, you're gonna get my prize collection of the Disney Infinity
Jones.
Davy Jones. I was gonna bring him today, and I completely forgot.
To sit on the desk and watch us.
And then we get to fight over it at the end.
I
my
just figured
God.
whoever made the best points would probably just have them. You know?
Wait, so that's crazy.
Yeah, so I was like, I know like bits and pieces of the movie. Like I know he goes to like the dandruff dimension when it's like all white and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's one way to put it. Crikey.
But like
Yeah.
up until like this week, I've never seen like any of the movies straight through. I've only seen like clips. I had like a little fixation when like the Lego game came out.
Yeah.
it's so good.
Because I never played it, but like I watched a Let's Play and I was like, oh, this seems cool.
Oh my
But I never
God.
watched any of the movies.
I'm about to say like all these really deep things.
That's fine.
No, it's just, well, like, that's interesting. And like, I guess that's great. I actually think that's great because you picture something much.
Else, yeah.
And like, obviously this isn't a film discussion, so I'll like try to keep this brief. This is a music podcast, but I think the music joined with the story. When you have film scores, a lot of people think about, you only recognize really one track. And obviously with Pirates of the Caribbean, if you've not seen it, like you recognize like that one track.
Yes,
it's
of
like
course.
the piratey music, and which is freaking awesome. But with like a lot of blockbusters, like you only have, people tend to just think about music in that way. And like you can look at these films too, and you can only see what's on the surface. But with these films, like if you haven't seen them, like go watch them. Underneath all of that and under the effects and everything, I think it's a really successful film that's grounded in like historic realism, but also works fantasy so well because it's this huge metaphor for like, and I'll keep it super brief. I just love these movies, guys.
They're very good.
Yes. It's like this gorgeous metaphor about greed and how, things such as the ocean in this sense are freeing. The ocean is treated as a character, like the music's treated like a character. And, the ocean is freeing, being a pirate is freeing, being an outcast is freeing because you're able to define that for yourself. Yeah. And then you have things like the land and people on the land that try to tarnish that and lock it up and stop it. And, there's this whole idea of greed in the film. I won't go into it so much more, but it's this idea of like the world getting smaller and smaller and the people trying to control the ocean when you just can't. And I think that sometimes when you think of like a blockbuster film, you're not thinking about all those things. Like you think it's just for the action. But I think that these films are unique in that sense because they were so successful, but they were able to have these deeper meanings. And, I'll talk a little bit about it and how like Hans Zimmer is also able to convey that in his film score. Because easily he could have been like, oh, pirate music? Bet. I'm going to give
accordions.
I'm going to give you pub music. but, and I do
Drunken
talk about.
Sailor. Here we go.
There's like shanties, but I'll get to that like later on because I think that there is a track that like is an homage to that without making it like he
super
easily
obvious.
could have done that.
Yeah.
But I think that it only speaks to the film more and it adds so much. So thank you for letting me go on my little tangent. I love these movies and this score is so nostalgic. I've listened to this. The amount of times I've listened to this score should be illegal, actually. Like someone would come take me away. Whatever. It's fine.
To the dandruff dimension?
Yeah. Davy Jones's locker. I think that's what
someone's going to take you away just like...
It's like the white place with all the crabs.
Yeah,
that
with all the crabs, yeah.
Just like Will Turner was taken away on the pirate ship.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I saw that today on Dead Man's Chest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so good. I'll try not to spoil if people haven't seen it in a while. I'll try not to, but
it came out in 2007. Okay,
it's been a while.
It took me a while, but I got there. They fly now.
Oh my God. Okay.
So before I dive into the history of this record.
I also have something I want to say when you're done.
Yeah.
You could have waited.
Oh my goodness, Matthew.
I'll just say it now. It's just one sentence then.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before we begin, I found out that Hans Zimmer worked on the main theme for the first Skylanders game.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, apparently.
That
oh my God.
Yeah.
Wait, it all connects because Disney Infinity
Was a ripoff of Skylanders.
Oh
which was orchestrated by Hans Zimmer, who orchestrated
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh my God.
And Davy Jones is in Disney Infinity.
Coincidence? I think not.
That'll do it for this week's episode.
Yeah, honestly, I think we can wrap up here.
I watched when I was on the plane ride home from Australia, I watched like a Hans Zimmer like documentary and like how he started out. He was in this like little shed and his setup was insane.
Really?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like I can't even begin to, I don't even know how to describe it, but it was in this like little shed and he had all these like crazy like soundboards and stuff.
He has like this arranger like piano where he comes up with, I think it also not only arranged it in like a MIDI sense, but it arranged it like as sheet music as well.
Yeah.
Where he uses all the sample sounds to like put it on a score, but also on a grid so he can hear it and play it back and stuff like that. And because there was a movie that I think I also saw like he
almost broke his machine
with my own two Hans.
Yeah. That's really good. And that's the episode.
That's the end.
But he almost like broke his machine.
Like what movie was that?
Oh, I don't think it was
I feel like we watched that video together.
It wasn't Batman. Well, I was on the plane ride home from Australia, so I
was
don't
there.
think you were there.
Skylanders.
Yeah.
I know it's the true Skylander. She was in the air, and then she went and landed on the ground.
But I don't think it was Batman. It was like one of his earlier.
That's a great score.
That's a great. I almost brought that on today.
That would have been sick.
Maybe for the future we could do the 2 Batman scores.
I'd be down for that. Yeah, I love
Christopher
I
Nolan.
also want to teach a Batman class. So any universities out there, if you are into that,
Bring me in for Scarecrow Day.
Oh my god, yeah. I'll come dressed up. I'll just be. No one will see me, but they'll know.
As Cillian Murphy.
Yeah. I'll just become really hot, like immediately.
I do have a fun fact about the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise.
Okay.
So the movies were actually, they did not come first before the ride in the Disney parks. And I think it's incredible how much nuance and like
lore.
how much lore,
Yeah.
how many like messages and themes you can pull away from like all of the films that you mentioned, Emma, considering they made it around like
A theme park ride.
the theme park ride and made it so much more
Oh yeah.
and so iconic. Like it's
Which surprises
remarkable.
me for Disney.
It
if I'm
really-
gonna be honest.
absolutely.
It's
Definitely.
really. I considered like the first 3 the ones I look at and analyze because I think that the other 2 feel a little too Disney. If you know what that means, like it just feels like a money grab.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, but I feel like with,
MCU-ish.
yeah, but with these, like it feels like they were there for the art and the attention to detail, and there was still that homemade feel, especially in the first one. And
oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, so
I got a jar of dirt. Another fun fact before I dive into the history.
yeah.
Jack Sparrow himself, Johnny Depp, one time, I forget how they even did this, but they replaced one of the animatronics with Johnny
Whoa,
Depp
really?
on the ride.
That's
Just-
awesome.
and he was saying all the lines and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't even think he was like lip syncing to like the audio track that the rides do. I think he was just
Saying his own
screaming.
thing.
Yeah.
That's really fun.
And people were like really confused because they would talk about this one part of the ride where he would say something. People were like, that's not what he said when I was on the ride.
Oh my god.
I just love that.
The fact that people know that though, jeez.
Yeah, Disney adults.
Oh my gosh.
Crikey.
That's
I've
a
never
whole
been.
that's a whole other podcast of
Yeah, it's a
complaining
rabbit
hole.
itself.
Yeah.
But before we even dive into that tangent on Disney adults, I'm going to dive into a little bit of history.
Great.
So, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, the compact disc, was released in tandem with the movie on May 22nd, 2007. It was arranged by Hans Zimmer. The orchestra was conducted by Blake Neely and Nick Glennie Smith. The choir, or Metro Voices, was conducted by Matthew Dunkel. And it was mixed at Remote Control Productions in Santa Monica, California. Mastered by Patricia Sullivan at Bernie Grundman Mastering. Sorry, I wrote Manstering.
Ah.
Ooh.
What here, mastering?
In Hollywood, California. Like I mentioned, this compact disc release was marshaled to the 3rd installment in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie franchise, which, dare I say, to avoid spoilers, I'll just add as a last note, is in my opinion the best one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I really fuck with this movie a lot.
I see.
Yeah.
The dandruff dimension is in my brain.
Yeah, it's in my
It's not
hair.
what it's called.
I love how it's like supposed to be this like very mystical thing, which is Davy Jones' locker, and we're just like calling
Dandruff
it. Yeah.
dimension.
As if it was
Sorry, I might ruin this.
No,
As if
it's
it was just like a
perfect.
random offshoot dimension that
Yeah.
Doctor
Yeah.
Strange would visit.
Yeah.
The dark dimension.
Peter,
the
dandruff
dandruff
dimension.
Yeah. But it's just, I love it.
I'll be watching it tomorrow at work.
Yeah.
It's very good. I think it's my favorite one.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Just so many amazing scenes. So many amazing like acting moments too.
The cinematography. There's just, I mean, like when I did do my notes, I was like, girl, you got to stick to the music because these 2 are going to be like, please stop. But yeah.
It's okay. We've
had our
been
fair
around.
share of
We've
film.
been around the block.
Well, you know,
Like
how,
one of our guests.
Yes, that's very true.
Oh boy. But like even like, you know how people get so hyped to go to a concert? Like if
Yeah.
I was at the Hans Zimmer concert, I would probably be like foaming at the mouth. Like I would be going feral. Like I
know.
would be getting so hyped.
I know in Philly there is like a candlelight orchestra thing that like
Yeah.
comes and goes, and I believe there was a Pirates of the Caribbean night the one
Oh
time.
my god.
They have a Halloween one. They got like other
Okay.
ones too.
But if because I know Hans Zimmer was just touring and I was like, oh my God, if like people get hyped at concerts, I was like, I would be like off the walls. I would be a monster. I like writing the notes. I was like, it just makes me so emotional. Like, can we just like get into it? Like,
Yeah, why not?
do you have anything else? Okay. So
Let's hoist these colors.
Yes. Okay. So, oh my God, I'm so excited. Like, I'm about to start crying, but like happy cry.
Yeah.
So, with this track, the Hoist the Colours, it's really interesting because we were talking about Bowie and I was talking about so much of the lyrics, but I feel like with this score, I can just really get into like the music, which is great. Which is a little bit different. Like you have to sit there and you have to be really patient with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But with Hoist the Colours, like they have like it's a slow opening. It's the opening of the film, which is gorgeous. It's and I love how the beginning of the film begins with music, and it's not just this background function, which is something I'll talk about consistently throughout talking about film scores. But a lot of people think that the music is just supposed to be for the background, but Hans Zimmer treats it like a character, but also the director, because I think it was really smart to open the movie with singing, and it's this song that brings the pirates together. And another thing that Zimmer does is that he takes it really slow and he lets the music breathe. And I think when you think of really big action movies, which I'll talk about later, you think of these like crazy, like epic, like right in your face, but he lets it breathe. So that way when the build comes, it comes off as this, like by
it's
the time
earned.
Exactly. And it's like a really successful payoff, and you almost want to be singing with them, and it's this very powerful moment. And I think that like this is I'm glad that we're opening with this because it's a great way to just be in touch with his music and his style right off the bat.
I think it's also like a really cool way to kind of bookend the trilogy, because doesn't the first movie start with Elizabeth singing on the boat?
Yeah.
It's just kind of like a nice like oh haha, harkening back.
Exactly.
And especially how like this, like the motif of like this melody comes back in like the rest of the soundtrack. Which is really very, very clever.
I'm so excited to talk about that.
With a little bit of a lyric change, might I add.
It's true. Hoist the sparrow, as they say.
That's it. We did it. Oh my gosh, no, it's such a great intro, such a great tone setter for just like the
dark and dreary
for the soundtrack and just like the movie in general. I love the way the fucking drums just like
the marching snares just like pounding in the background.
And it creates like a world that feels lived in. Like again, that idea of not making the music be in the background. Like you have people playing the drums, like you were saying. You have the people singing. Like Matt, you were in like a choir. Like how does this register with you as someone that used to be like part of a choir? Like I was just curious, like your perspective on that.
It's actually really funny. I was going to mention something about that.
Yeah.
I think it was also a really good thing that Hans Zimmer, for the sake of the story, wait, you were watching it tomorrow at work, right, AJ? For the sake of the story, they didn't try to make it like a choral arrangement in the sense where it's really like
like Pirates choral.
Oh my goodness.
A CHORAL arrangement in the sense where it's really embellished with harmonies.
Yeah.
Because they're all singing in unison because it's dreary. Like you wouldn't be singing in harmony if you're about to get killed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really incredible. And like they're not like amazing singers either.
No,
but
which I love.
It feels real.
But the thing about it that's incredible is like you get all these voice parts of different like ranges and octaves, even like really low ones that are like singing like the brown note of like fucking
of Pirates
of that melody. Of Pirates. Scurvy Brown, if you will.
Oh my god. That's my rapper name.
We all need to make pirate names.
Oh yeah.
Scurvy Brown.
Scurvy Brown.
I want to be actually we can come up with it later. But the thing is I think it's really, really cool because it adds to this whole idea of dreariness, because like they're singing it as a sense of unity in the film, and it's a dreary moment because they're watching one by one people die. So it's they do a really, really good job of sort of painting that tone in this beginning scene of the movie, which is also a pretty daring way to start the film,
I
too.
think so. Yeah.
But I think it's really, really cool the way that even though like he didn't want to like put harmonies in it and make it like a musical.
Exactly.
So they had them all sing in unison, but with so many layers of octaves that it made it like, wow, holy shit.
And it's really beautiful too. Like like just a little history real quick. Just with like pirates in general, like a lot of times, there were pirates that were outcasted, but not just because they were like, oh, we're like dangerous and scary. It was because like a lot of times like they were gay, and hoisting the colors, like now a lot of people have reclaimed it. And also historians too, they talk about how, hoisting the colors, it's like hoisting your own colors and being yourself. So like the fact that they are singing this and as a form of unity, even as like they're watching so many pirates like die off, and you know, again, that notion of like the world getting smaller. They're like, we're still here, babe. Like we're not, and like you'll see when you watch it, the music in this song in particular, like the music becomes like there's like a line in the movie. It's like, oh, they all sung. Like the song has been sung. It's so important. Like I love that.
Because like even though like this song is basically like a funeral march, like there's like the lyrics are like still very hopeful. Like "Never shall we die" is like the last thing you hear.
Exactly.
Well, with that said, let's move on to like a highlight for me. I Singapore fucking riffs. Yes! I love this track.
Yes.
Especially like for world building purposes of where they're at right at this part in the movie. It's just like, oh my gosh. It's flavor texting in this way that even though, the title is called Singapore and there are like Asian characters in it, they don't do it in a way that's like really stereotypical or like...
It's very tastefully adds the influence into like the overall score.
I made like a little note of, because I feel like every time in Hollywood when any people try to make like music for something that isn't like westernized, like that isn't westernized, like they caricature it. So like to your point, like your point's perfectly, like I like how he utilizes instruments from like Asia, East Asia, and they're so beautiful. I mean, those are like among some of my favorite instruments, but they're always like so
guzheng and
oh my god, just really beautiful and like just it's a good establishing track.
It is, and it's honestly it's one of my favorite scenes in the whole film because this is one of the moments where like it's visually stunning.
It is
just watching the characters go into this one area.
And I think too. The music again.
Did you notice how I said that with no details so that I wouldn't
appreciate that.
spoil anything for you, AJ?
Thank you, Matt.
Well, I think like the music, like even just, you know, you listening.
Yeah, you can like paint a picture based off like that alone.
It starts slow and then it has this payoff.
Picks up.
Yeah, but
so they go to Singapore.
Yeah.
Fuck!
The movie is ruined.
Friends, the one where they go to Singapore.
Oh my god. But like it lets it take its time, and I appreciate this because like me as someone, you know, as a movie watcher, I guess, like I have a really hard time watching action movies that are action on action on action. And I think that the music tells a really beautiful story where it lets them sort of essentially creep up on what they're about to do, which is, you know, that's what they're doing. But like, you don't have it, it's not right in your face right away.
It has to like build up to it.
Exactly.
And the payoff is really good.
It is.
Yeah. Everything just explodes in there, and like you have like the musical influence kind of like their chance to shine with like the finger cymbals and like I don't think it's a shamisen, but like something similar.
It definitely sounded like a shamisen. I don't know if since it's Singapore, if there's like an equivalent or if it's like the same, but like a
string instrument like from that like area.
I probably should have like the personnel list because like I mentioned, it was an orchestra. For both the choir and even like going into like the nitty gritty of like concertmaster, which is only there to do only there to do violin solos and to set the concert pitch of an A natural, if you will. But like, they really utilize the orchestra so well here.
Yeah, totally.
Just to really paint this scene because I've only seen this movie like one time.
Wow.
And
that's like just so unbelievable to me.
And it's your favorite too.
It is. It's the one that genuinely I enjoyed the most because it has so many good characters. But
like Davy Jones.
Davy Jones.
I love when it really, really picks up too.
Yeah.
I think my favorite part is the reprise of Jack's theme at the very end too.
So good.
It's a great moment.
Yeah.
It has like a bit of like it has like the marching drums, but then there's like this outro with the woodwinds and like I know it's gonna be like a really like whack ass comparison, but like
Bastille.
It kind of reminded me of that one like really chill jazzy piano riff that they play in Ghostbusters at the Sedgwick Hotel.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
And I only know that riff very well because I played the video games extensively.
Banger video game.
We got to talk about that off podcast.
Absolutely.
We'll do it later today.
Yes.
We'll play it later today.
Oh my god, we're sleeping over.
I love the amount of like world painting you could just hear in this track by itself.
Love it.
Well, with that, I'm at my wit's end with this album, so let's move on.
So we're doing puns now, Hans Zimmer.
I love he's so cheeky.
Pun Zimmer?
Yeah. Oh my god. That's it. We're done.
All right.
That's a wrap. I love how he's so cheeky. He's so... Yeah, so something I will be talking about with this album a lot, and I love that there is this understanding of the music. And what I mean by that, I was just going to say that this track, I have a lot of notes because with this track, I think he understands the music well with this whole, he's thinking about it on a whole like scale. And I really like that because not only does it connect the music, obviously, it makes it sound like it's in the same world. There's just so much that he does with this. And he has, it is the third one. And I'll talk about this later because there is a 10-minute track
there
I
is.
can't wait to talk about. We'll get there.
It's perfect.
But he does the same thing where he's paying homage to the different films and the different themes. And with this, I love this because he treats it like an overture. Like it felt very overture-esque in a way.
Yeah.
And he, again, lets it flow. And it feels, I don't know. I feel like for like my credentials for this, like Ocean Lover should be like in there. But there's just this feeling of the ocean in his music, which he somehow evokes. And he does this by making it really calm. And then you get to the 3-minute mark and then the strings pick up and you're thrown in and you feel like he's slowly inviting you into this world. Like if you listen to this track and then you're just thrown into it. And I think that the movies have that energy. The ocean also feels this way in the sense that it's like unpredictable. It might go in one direction. It might go in another. And then you have around the 3-minute mark, the love theme or Will and Elizabeth's theme, which comes out throughout the whole score. But he does this several times. And, obviously, like I'll talk about that later. But I love that he still has this at the core of so much of the music, because at the core of these films, like another thing to pull out, it's, a lot of people like identify first with Jack Sparrow and they think of the sword fighting and they think of so much in the film, but at the core of it, it's this love story that drives it. And it's this beautiful love story. Like, I don't know if y'all knew, but Will and Elizabeth invented love real quick.
Before that,
it's just,
there wasn't any.
Nope.
But it's this love story that isn't just a prop, just like the music isn't a prop.
Yeah.
And it's this love story that grounds the whole narrative. And then in that, in that you have this beautiful moment where they mix the love theme with the Davy Jones Locket music box theme. And then you have his organ slowly come out, which, as a kid, I tried to learn piano just I could learn that, because I was like, I need an organ and I need to play that. That's some of my most favorite music ever. But you have it in this way that's just mixing both, and it's tying like two aspects of love together. And I just think that it's just so genius, and it really makes all of the characters present. And I think this track becomes epic in a way because it's not just giving you everything up front. It's like letting the characters breathe. It makes you, and then you get to the end of it, which obviously it ramps up like so many of these tracks do. And like, you feel like you want to be a pirate, but you're kind of just like stuck in your car if you're anything like me and like listen to this. But like, it's just so, I love this track for that. And I love that he takes his time to use it as an overture. I think that that's really smart, and it's just beautiful to listen to.
I think it definitely kind of like captures like the feeling of the title, like not knowing any concepts of the movie. It starts to like very like monotonous and like droning, and, like repetitive, and before like it gets like very like crazy and like you're going mad, before there's like that sense of triumph and hope at the very end when things start like ramping up like to hope and like pirates.
Yes. I feel like I need rum. Like we need to like be cheersing to rum.
Yo ho.
Yeah.
One of the things I love is, and this is something that like I know a lot of composers for movies do in general, especially when they're kind of like in an adventuring sort of mindset. I love when there is like a solo vocalist that's sort of like vocalizing with like any syllables of any kind, but it almost feels like a language. Like, and even though they're not technically just like they're not like saying any real words, they say it with like enough conviction and feeling where you still like understand, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like you can like get a sense of the emotions just based on like what the instrumentals are playing. Which
There
I think
is
is really
language.
cool.
That's a really good way to put it. I think it's in that sense it makes this really approachable too, because you start to be like, oh, that's this.
Yeah.
This is what's gonna happen here.
Also, the flugelhorn at the very end.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus Christ. It rips so hard.
That man
the
knows
brass
how to
all
flugel.
across.
Definitely.
All across the board. The brass on this soundtrack just absolutely rips.
I agree. And the woodwinds, too. They have their fair share of dope moments.
Oh, so good.
But I'm at my wit's end talking about this shit. Let's move on to multiple jacks.
Oh God, I love this. So
This is one of my favorite scenes of
yes.
all time.
And like even so you haven't really quite seen, but I feel like this track has so much like audible comedy and it plays with it. It
with
has
the jaw harp.
Yeah. And it has Jack's theme, but really disjointed and chaotic.
Yeah.
And like kind of like little sidebar. Like I was in Australia and I was walking on a beach and I was like a little tipsy and I'm like, I want to feel like Jack Sparrow right now. So I put this on and I was because I got lost and I was like, where the fuck are my friends? And
Multiple
like,
Emmas.
Yeah. And I was like, it was actually like the greatest experience. I was like, this is it. I've reached peak of like existing. But I just, I just think that it does a great job again of telling a story. Like when you listen to this, there's so much going on that your ears have to pick up and you're like, what the hell is happening? Yeah.
It's like a really cool kind of juxtaposition where it has like the playful like nature like on top of it, but there's like kind of like dark undertone underneath and that really gets picked up when it has the almost like industrial, almost like nu metal like breakdown like halfway through.
Yeah.
Which is like unexpected, but like very welcome.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot like in the soundtrack until I was looking at the personnel. There's like a guitar, like an electric guitar player,
which I can't wait to talk about
which is
later, but continue.
which is so fucking cool. I love the part, like the percussion in this like chaotic moment, we know in this track. If you know, like what happens in the scene, which the chaos, it definitely fits what it's trying to paint with the music. But I love the way that like the really tiny like percussive hits, it sounds almost like someone's like dropping coins or something.
Yeah, totally. Next up, we have Up Is Down. This one is pretty cool. Definitely brings the energy back up after like the kind of slow, dreary all throughout the last two tracks.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite tracks. Like I said, the amount of times I've listened to the score is illegal. The amount of times I've listened to this should be illegal. It's funny because I keep talking about tattoos, but like I want a tattoo of like this ship upside down.
Oh, yeah.
And then on the horizon line, Up Is Down, because this like Up Is Down is like it's a prominent moment, like you'll see
as I'll see tomorrow.
But it's very not just because I love this track so much, but also it's just really interesting, like playing with changing perspectives and like having that aspect of it. It's like so like the strings
the
so
violin
tight.
feature.
Yes.
Holy shit,
incredible.
It's amazing.
So tight. Like you like your heart rate goes up. Like I feel like there's like I don't know, I think about music in this way where there's like layers. Like I don't know if that makes sense. Well, so
absolutely. Yeah.
I also have synesthesia, which I've been exploring more. I've always had it, but I just like kind of recently realized I had it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like I have a playlist of songs that trigger it more, which my friends joke is like the songs I'm not allowed to listen to when I'm driving, which whatever, it's fine. But this one, because of the strings, it's like you have the string section, which is I feel like is like A strings because it starts and that's like underneath everything and they're so tight. And then you get more strings.
Yeah, then the flute solo comes in. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's just so there's this amazing sense of back and forth. It's so it like moves you. Like
definitely.
you feel like you're there. Yeah.
Very like triumphant climactic moment.
Yes.
Also like the overall musical feel reminded me of like Danny Elfman compositions.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah, just in, like just how it sounds. I was like, oh cool, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's another composer that Emma could definitely go off about, especially for the Beetlejuice soundtrack.
Maybe season 4.
Oh yeah, I could talk
We're
about
already
that.
planning season. We literally just started
season 3.
Wow.
This is episode 2.
Listen, I would love to come back. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, again, I think the tiny like percussion definitely like adds to the sort of like frenzied idea that up is in fact down.
Matt, when you're right, you're right.
I would just like to read my exact like note. For some reason I wrote, the tiny tapping percussion is just so grand. It's so grand.
Dude, David Bowie's here.
Can you say that as Bowie? Can you give us a line?
Oh my God. No.
The tiny tapping
I'm
percussion.
at my wit's end in Singapore with these multiple jacks.
That's pretty good. That's pretty close.
Question of the week. Was that a good impression?
We had the poll.
Yeah, we had to do the poll. And I think, again, it just that reiterates that you don't need to have like that stereotypical like epic music where it's like a lot of horns in your face and a lot of like it's epic throughout because he doesn't need to do that, which is really awesome.
Picks and chooses.
Yeah, exactly. He's very intentional.
Very well done.
Next up, we have I See Dead People in Boats, bringing it way back down.
Yeah, like he's just really funny with his titles. This one, like, because I know that it would seem like on the surface as like a transition sort of track or like just kind of background.
Like ambiance.
Yeah, and it is like bringing it down a bit. It's very calm, which is really nice. I think it works really well. I think if it wasn't a buffer, it would be like too much. But I love how, again, he peppers the love theme throughout, but it's subtle. You get it like a little bit with like the flute. I think it displays how versatile the love theme can be, but also how many times it shows up. And I think it's, again, so important that he's like being very intentional about where it shows up, because it shows up so much in the story. Like the whole like core of it is love, and it seems present. And then you have the music reminding you. So, you know, it's there for like the music to tell without like the director having to worry so much about like showing it aggressively, because, you know, there are moments where it seems like it's not apparent at all, but then you're able to have the music and it's like, again, you're in on
clicks,
those, those little cues, which I love how he lets you in. Yeah.
I wasn't like too big a fan of this one.
Yeah.
I feel like because it's like 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And like there's not too much that's like changing it. I like the Italian style guitar that comes in towards the end. That's really nice. But I feel like there's a track. I think like the next track actually just does it a little better.
Oh yeah, I agree.
But it's just like, you know, just very somber, very dreary, bringing it down. I'm sure I will appreciate it more upon watching the movie when I know what the love theme is.
Very mindful, very demure.
One might say.
Good. Oh my goodness.
I was just gonna say that to add to your point about how like the score's trajectory is like a bit unpredictable, kind of like the ocean.
Yeah.
I feel like this is such a good example because like this is sort of like calm waters.
Yeah.
Kind of like in the movie when you get to it.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Sorry.
Okay, first we go to Singapore. Now there's water in this movie. What the fuck?
It was made in 2007. It's not my fault.
We're not holding it against him. Jesus.
Speak for yourself.
We have him in the brig. Davy Jones' locker.
I will say, to kind of add to this whole unpredictability aspect, I was waiting for like the music to spike in loudness.
Yeah.
So I might have been kind of on edge when I was listening to this track.
Yeah, you were edging on this track. Yeah, so
I'm not going to deny that.
Anyway,
They don't call me Glass they call me Glass for a reason. I'm very transparent.
because it was
AJ.
God-given ass.
oh boy,
I'm the Naz, man.
Naz.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
If we got nothing else,
No.
we can move on to the Brethren Chord, which is one that I actually really like a lot.
Yeah.
Me too.
I like this I really fuck with this track.
The electric guitar.
Yeah.
This is where it really comes in.
Definitely. I think there's an ocarina like feature at some point, which I was blown away by. That was awesome. That was really cool.
It stands out in style. Like it's
yeah.
kind of like the multiple jacks where it's very playful at first, but then like I don't know, it seems like very disjointed at first, but in an intentional way.
Yeah.
And you know, like because at this point in the film, like the Brethren chord is very disjointed and dysfunctional, but then the music again becomes more serious.
Yeah.
And it's like reminding you, like, no, like they're actually really powerful and like really strong. And I love that instead of him just kind of giving you everything up front.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nuance.
Yeah.
We like that. There's also like an accordion in here too.
Yeah, I
so
know.
like bringing it's like, hey, like pirates, like, you know.
Just in case you forgot.
Oh yeah, pirates.
Just in case you haven't seen the movie.
Yeah, it's in the title. I mean, I don't know.
I kind of wish this one was a little bit longer.
Yeah, I do
Agreed.
too.
Like it's
Yeah,
a very
very
like
much
nice
so.
moment. I love like the male vocalizations. Kind of sounds like Halo, just like a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh
So,
yeah, absolutely.
I kind of fuck with that. What was I gonna say? The rapidly picked strings, like you mentioned before.
Yep. They fuck. They do.
Yeah.
They fuck.
I thought you were about to do the Velma impression.
Jonathan Jacobo.
We could have had a Halloween episode. I could have done it.
It is October.
I mean, yeah, Velma.
Happy Halloween, guys. If you're listening to this.
Tis the season.
Tis the season
Oh,
for
boy.
Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters
Yeah.
Unleashed.
Yeah.
I like the way it reiterates the Hoist the Colours theme.
Oh
too.
yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
I
It
like
brings
that too.
it back.
He does a really good job of reinforcing it throughout.
Definitely.
Yeah.
A lot of good moments with
In
that.
a way that's not like repetitive. Like he's not
Or
like
like cheesy.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's very like
very tasteful.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm drawn to his music so much, because he brings things back and he appreciates the way that they function for the story rather than it just being like another background piece for ambiance. Yeah.
If we got nothing else, we can move on to the next track, Parlay.
So excited.
Which I guess is kind of another bookend, right? Because Parlay was a big thing in the first movie.
Yeah.
And I guess it comes back here. I guess I'll see you tomorrow.
I guess we'll find out. This track is fucking wild.
Yeah,
like,
really. Definitely.
It starts off and then there's just like the guitar solo. And you think you're like, it feels like a Western, but it's still Pirates. And like, listen, like when I have to go do a hard thing or like a very difficult thing, I like put this on to hype myself up. If you need to hype yourself up, like put this on in the back. Yeah, it's so good.
The percussive chimes that are in there too, just like have this like the sense of like grandiosity, which is really nice. And I like how it just builds up too before just exploding like the main like melody.
Yeah, he's using like again like to your point from earlier, like he utilizes the whole orchestra. And he's not afraid to do that. So awesome.
Even like the melody as it kind of moves like from A to B, literally just like the notes A, B, and C.
Yeah,
because they're such like close together. It sounds so ominous. And like so suspenseful.
Yeah,
the electric guitar is so cool.
It's really fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Pirate Western. Like,
oh my god,
that's so cool.
Sign me up.
So good, so good. Like I just like you're listening to it, and it, like I don't know, my ears just like they're just like thank you so much for like I don't know, thanks Hans Zimmer. Yeah,
he's up there watching over us all. You're welcome.
Yeah,
und you're welcome.
oh wait, listen, Bowie was here, but I don't think Zimmer's made it yet.
Yeah, we don't have the budget for Zimmer.
We don't.
We know he's listening.
He's gonna soundtrack the family album.
Oh my, that'd be epic.
Could you imagine?
I always see like
a lot of jaw harp.
Oh my god,
not enough jaw harp. I would argue.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Anyway.
We've got nothing else.
Yeah.
We move on to Calypso. This is one I don't really remember too much.
So this
That's cool.
Yeah.
There's, I think, in the film before this, there's a Calypso track that I'm a little bit more partial to because I feel like it's still very mysterious and alluring. Like this does that, but this one to me is like one of the only ones that feels a little soundtracky, like kind of sort of. But it's still like he does a great job to like have it be unpredictable, like the ocean and
the little like gusts of wind.
Yeah.
It's like breezy.
It's very mysterious. You know, I think it's like it's also a very important moment in the film, which I won't give so much away, but he does a really good job of just capturing the characters in the music. So I think for this track, that's what I can say about it.
Okay. I think there's like a nice moment where like the strings kind of like ascend, which is really cool. And like the chanting at like one point towards the middle, towards the end.
Oh yeah, that's always really cool.
Yeah. Reminded me of Finding Nemo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're in the ocean. It's like
exactly.
the same.
Yeah. To take an influence is inspiration.
You know.
There's a Venn diagram to be made here.
Yeah. They're two wolves.
Yeah.
Both made by Disney.
That's true.
That is true.
Disney owns everything.
That's true.
My soul.
Including the podcast.
Oh yeah.
That's true. We just got bought out by Kathleen Kennedy.
Wow.
And executive.
And executive.
Mickey Mouse gotcha.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, that's what we're going to die for.
Oh, boy.
As we shall die for this next track.
Oh, God. Okay, so this is also...
Nice, man.
Yeah, that was a good segue.
Would you believe I practiced all of these before the show?
In the mirror, you're just like, okay, don't fuck up.
He just like wrote all of them down on his arm.
What should we die for? What can I do? We shall die for... Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, let's keep going. This is also a favorite. It's a really important moment in the film.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Where just people find themselves.
Yeah,
and
the call to action before the climax.
Yes, and it like drives you forward, which I really appreciate. Everything feels very driven. It feels very driven forward. You know, this is another track where if you need to hype yourself up, like listen to like immediately. And then again, I love at the very end how they have Hoist the Colours again in a way that feels very intentional. It's like this layering of music that brings you back into the whole narrative, and then it brings you full circle. He like engages with you, I feel like, which is really nice.
I actually like exactly said full circle moment on this track. Yeah. I think it's like again, like it starts like lumbering, but then when it builds up to this more kind of triumphant tone, it still has like the same pace, but it's just a different feeling, which I think is really cool in comparison to like the other buildups that happened in like the previous tracks. It's a nice like difference.
Yeah, I agree.
Just kind of as like a point for nuance to add to the whole driving momentum point that you brought a couple seconds ago. I like how in this part of the OST, the tracks like seamlessly fade into one another.
Yes.
I mean, AJ and I can both attest. We love that kind of like production thing in music.
Yes.
We do love that. Even though it sounds like Matt's saying this sounds like we hate it, we do really like
Yeah,
it.
it's true. I'm not being sarcastic, I promise.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
What else was I going to say from my notes? Oh, the chorus, when they're reiterating the Hoist the Colours theme,
Yeah.
they say thieves and beggars never say goodbye.
Yeah.
Ah, look at that.
Yeah. Which I love that. Like, it's a little nuanced. None of it feels lazy, I think.
Very intentional.
Yeah, like he's so particular about what he's putting in, and even like a small lyric change. It's just very like, it's very comforting too, to like have like never say goodbye. Like, it's just really nice. Yeah.
It's very interesting, like listening, because I've seen the movie before, but like it's interesting kind of like picturing the movie. Like I can almost see this. I see this record in terms of like Freytag's pyramid, you know? So like with the rising action, the falling action.
Oh yeah, like next song is like easily the climax.
Yeah.
Like,
Boy, I can't wait to talk about it. I'm so excited.
Well, we got nothing else. We can move right along.
Okay.
I don't think now is the best time, actually.
You know, yeah, let's keep talking about what show we
We can just wrap it up now.
Yeah, honestly, that'll do it for this.
Oh my god. I love how if people out there don't know this, like they're probably thinking that like you were serious about
track
that.
number 10 is called
I don't think
Now
is the best time. Yeah.
It's so like, I love how for Bowie
We said that with so much grace, AJ. It was like so
We should have
disjointed.
brain celled
I
that
love how
moment.
with like all the other, like with Bowie, I was very like calm, but with this, I'm just like
Pirates!
Yeah, I'm like freaking out. Like, this is so different.
It's cool. We've never done like a soundtrack on this podcast.
That's true.
And
We
it's
have not.
I think it's just a fun exercise to like engage with a score this way. Yeah, I have like a film playlist that's like 42 hours long. It's really bad.
That's like almost rivaling like Tom's.
Oh yes,
Because he has like a 61-hour
cursed, yeah,
Smosh
smorgasbord,
Game Grumps, Green Lovers.
epic rap history.
Yeah. These are like
Weird
the same
Al.
thing.
Yeah,
guys,
pretty much.
actually.
Like there are two
They're the
wolves
same.
inside.
Stop it.
Oh my god, that's crazy. No, I just this piece. This is probably one of my absolute favorite pieces of music. I think it's one of the most impressive pieces in film history, music history. It's 10 minutes and 30 seconds long. It's not only this epic mashup of every theme and tone and all of the characters, of like the whole film, but it's just, he does it in this way where he's just bringing it all together.
It's like a celebration of the series.
Yeah, exactly. And like, it's just, I don't know. I feel like that it makes me think of a few things and it does a few things. So like right off the bat, it makes me feel like there's just so much passion and care into every decision that was put into this movie. You know, it was passion that the creators had, and I think he's celebrating that here. He's translating it into this way, and he's paying homage to that, and he's giving voice to all of the work that all of the people that worked on these films have done. Because originally they thought this was going to be like the last like part of the trilogy, which when I watch these, I feel like is like where I ended, kind of sort of. And he's just giving voice to all of it. He's giving voice to all the characters. And I think that that's what makes it really special.
Yeah, totally. I think like this whole song just tells a whole story in of itself. And like, even though I don't know the context, I can just like see everything happening. Yeah. Like you have like the kind of like the build up to like the big battle where like the marching snares coming in, like the horns of war. Yeah. And you have like the actual fight scene that sounds like Final Fantasy music. And like it kind of like slow stuff down to have like more like character moments like in between before like the big final like push at the end. It's just a very well done like track all around, and I'm sure like watching the movie, I'll just like catch up on like all like the themes I've heard previously, and like get a better appreciation for that.
Yeah,
I just think it's really neat, even the comedic timing of both this placement of like the track on the album, but also like the title. Yeah, because it's just like it's this world ending, because you know we're at World's End. It's this world ending sort of roll credits. It's this world ending like instrumental with like every piece of brass you can think of just like blaring in your ears,
thundering percussion,
and then the title's just like it's not the best time, you know, just like
it's like
I don't know
so
what about
great
it is
for
just so
that.
funny to me. Like it's a nice sort of like juxtaposition.
Yeah,
definitely.
And like to your point of it taking its time with like having character moments. Like I won't give so much away for like people that haven't seen
like me.
Well, yeah, but like so the way that he again, like I know I've been talking about like Will Elizabeth's theme so much, but the way he uses it here, it like gives me like chills.
Gotcha.
Because it has this back and forth that feels like a sword play, and like if you watch the movie, like but it does this really interesting thing where it's like a call and answer to itself.
Okay, yeah.
Which like I love that part because you have all this like really epic, you know, like the brass and like the drums and like they're kind of throwing everything and the kitchen sink into this. But it's just takes its time to have this really beautiful moment in this beautiful scene, and it's reminding you that like there's more to the story than just like them fighting and them being violent and them, you know, like throwing each other into like battle and like sword play. And you know, I think that like this particular instance in the film is one of the most like romantic on screen.
Oh shit!
Like anything that can happen.
Whoa.
Which like
It is correct. Yeah.
Is that when Jack and Davy Jones kiss?
With every tentacle just finding every part
I'm,
up his nose.
Very particular about like my romance in movies, and I feel like this is just it's so beautiful, and the music adds so much to it because it is taking the time, like you said. It's not just like rushing into things. It's not saying like
it knows like when to like kind of like bring it back down.
Exactly. And I think it's just it adds so much to the scene. It's like almost ridiculous. Like I always see like the memes of like people saying like POV or like Hans Zimmer in the studio, and it's like you're like the producer and you're like, oh my god, the studio is on fire. Like his music is on, like he's just like, Hans, this is just a pirate movie. Like, and it's just like this huge, beautiful,
meme of dude writing like on paper, caught on fire. Yeah.
I feel like as a callback to earlier when we referenced the she's really good moment. Like I feel like you can have that gif of Alison Stoner just kind of like
Hans Zimmer in the studio.
Yeah.
He's really good.
He's really good.
Oh, so good.
Truly the camp rock of composers.
I feel like that's so insulting to say.
Oh no, don't listen, Hans Zimmer. Turn it off for like 5 minutes and then come back.
Yeah, and then when you're on the podcast, we can like hash this out.
Yeah. We can call
Hans Zimmer being on the most accomplished like composer in history on the same podcast.
That's the most accomplished podcast.
Yeah, exactly. We are the pet sounds of all podcasts.
That's what they say.
That's
That's what people have been saying. Especially
Hans,
Mike Love.
I have him on speed dial.
Dude, here he is.
Hans?
Oh, he left. He got shy.
Mad about your Camp Rock comment. He didn't want to be here.
I didn't say the Camp Rock comment.
That was me.
Sorry, I looked in the wrong direction. Wait, but they couldn't see it, so it would have been fine. We could have just pretended.
I'm not taking the blame for this.
If not for Mr. Zimmer.
No.
Please, anything but Mr. Zimmer.
I don't think now's the best time to get into all this.
Oh my god.
But do we have anything else to say about this track?
No.
Yeah.
All right. Next we move on to One Day, the penultimate track. And it sounds almost kind of like the Jack Sparrow theme, but has like this more like kind of triumphant twist behind it. Kind of, I guess, like the big send-off before the credits.
Yes. And it like, again, oh my god. I love this. It just evokes such a beautiful like feeling. And like you said, it like has sort of elements of certain themes, but it's still so different.
Exactly.
Like if you sit down, like listeners out there, like if you actually sit down and listen to this whole score, like each I feel like are characterized by so many different things while still being in the same world. Like I love this. It's so like, again, like there's like aspects of like the love theme, and I know that like I think Will and Elizabeth's theme, like when Hans Zimmer does his, like, because he released like a live, like from his performances, like there is like a more expanded upon theme where he puts like all of the Will and Elizabeth's theme together.
That's
but
cool.
I think, and but it's mainly from this film. But like with that, like it's like, again, like one of my most favorite pieces of music. Like it's just so gorgeous. Like he has, like it almost is like he like knew, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna, if you want to know what like falling in love sounds like, this is it real quick. And he just like, you know, wrote away with his like scroll that was flaming.
Yep.
But he has this capacity to just make you feel, and like, I don't know. I just think that that's why film scores as a whole should be studied more.
Definitely.
And should be talked about more, because I think when you're able to be a composer who is, you know, obviously as talented as he is, there's so much that you can add. And I think his talent just comes from being detailed and nuanced and, you know, having that attention. So, yeah.
Anything to add, Matt?
I think you guys kind of covered everything I wanted to say for One Day. What was I going to say? Just this part in the movie, man.
He's really good.
Just
Yeah.
this part in the movie, man. Just wait and see.
Yeah.
All right, I'm excited.
You'll see, like, the one day, like, that title it's really important.
Gotcha.
Oh my god. I can't. I don't want to spoil anything. Anyway.
It sounds very victorious and triumphant, so I have high hopes.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
It is.
I see. All right, last up we have Drink Me Hearties, Yo-Ho. This is like, I assume the credits of the movie. Yeah. Yes.
I'm so sorry, but I wasn't ready for "Drink Me Hearties" to be said in the most like unpirate accent known to man.
I believe it's
Drink Me Hearties.
I believe
Yo-ho.
it's Drink Up Me Hearties.
Oh, my fault.
No, it's okay.
Drink Me Up Hearties.
No, I didn't want to say anything because I have dyslexia and I didn't want to like encroach.
No, please
on
call me
anything.
out.
No, I didn't want to encroach.
Drink Me Up Hearties.
Who up drinking me up? Yo-ho, am I right?
Yeah, we still need our pirate names.
That's true.
Oh, shit,
That's
yeah.
how we'll close out the episode.
Yeah.
Okay,
we'll come up with.
I mean, like, there's not too much to say, but it's just,
Yeah.
good old credits theme brings in the
Yeah.
classic Pirates of the Caribbean theme.
he's a pirate.
That's what they
That's
say.
what it's called.
Yeah.
That is what it's called.
Yeah, I like this because like. Again, like we talked about at the beginning, how he doesn't feel the need to like have shanty music throughout the whole thing. But this is like kind of like calling a call back to that, like pub music, shanty music. Like he adds that in, and I think it's really smart that he did it that way. It utilizes the aspect of like the historical music.
Now, do you come up with
But he still, you know, he has the
of the
themes
characters
in the film.
this
and
case?
the characters
Coming
really
back.
good,
Well, I
and
wanted
I
to
think
come
Is
up
there a
with-
Sherlock?
he's just so smart
there's,
how he like does that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Matt, what do you think?
I think it just really wraps up the OST very, very well.
Yeah.
Like you said, like he reutilizes all the themes. Well, he kind of did that already, like 2 tracks ago, which
Yeah.
is really, really cool. But I feel like,
This is like the victory lap of doing that.
Yeah.
and this really is like a victory lap scene.
Oh, absolutely.
It's one of my
Yeah.
favorite. I think it's honestly like one of my favorite scenes in the film. It's such a great payoff. I'm very excited to hear your thoughts.
All right.
I know, I'm so excited.
I'll keep you updated tomorrow.
Yeah. And
And
he
then maybe
like,
you'll earn that Disney Infinity Davy Jones
Oh yeah.
at some point.
I'll finally be worthy.
That's so crazy.
Hope I
I
didn't
can't
lose it.
believe that actually. Oh, I love David
if he
Jones. I
can't
love
keep
him so
going,
much.
he
I
will
like
be.
I love the way he talks.
He says the line.
Oh.
Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, there
Oh
is.
boy. Now we gotta do all of our impressions.
Yeah.
Do you believe in ghost stories, Miss Turner?
You're in one.
Barbosa's just here.
What? That's happened in the last movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
He spawned in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh my god.
I feel like if I tried to do like a Calypso or Tia Dalma impression, that would probably be very offensive.
I don't think you should do that though.
I'm not going to.
Fair point.
I'm just
Yeah.
announcing the fact that I could.
Yeah. Love it.
I want to start talking like pirate lingo.
I think you should go
Oh,
for a
yeah.
phase, a pirate phase.
I could.
Yeah.
I could. I feel like if I started walking around wearing like an eye patch, that'd be offensive to people who like get.
But if wear a
laser surgery.
hat.
Well, you know.
There you go.
You know why they did that? It was because.
I just like glue a bird to my shoulder.
Oh my God.
like a live bird to my shoulder.
I
It's
just.
not a parrot. It's just a pigeon.
Yeah. You stole from the street.
No, my like I said in the beginning, like I just want to teach about pirates so bad. Like
They sound fascinating.
yeah, but like even the eye patch thing, it's not because they lost an eye. It's because when they would go above and below, it helped their eyes adjust quicker to the light and to the dark. So it was
wow.
more of a they were
practical
really
thing.
smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they did that. Y'all are getting so much history today.
I like it.
Yeah. In like 10 years when I'm a professor teaching about pirates, y'all can all come back and
Oh, we'll sit in.
Yeah,
We'll be like
you'll
your
sit in.
TAs.
We're gonna
Yeah,
audit the
yeah.
class. Yeah.
yeah, all the listeners out there, you know, who knows where I'll be. But
Exactly. Hans Zimmer.
Yeah. Hans Zimmer will be
Girl
there.
from Camp Rock.
Yeah.
All of our listeners, John
Yeah.
Stamos.
Her name is Allison
Yeah.
Stoner.
Allison
AJ.
Stoner.
David Bowie will come back.
Bowie will
From
come
the
back.
dead. Yeah.
This
it'll
is
be
the
great.
ghost of David
Yeah.
Bowie. But with that, shall I get into our final thoughts?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Emma, thoughts on
God.
Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, the soundtrack?
I'll try and keep it brief. I was just really thankful that y'all let me do something that was like super non-traditional
Yeah.
for the show. I think that just, as I've said multiple times, like film scores as a whole, like deserve to not just be treated as background. I think this was a great example of a film score that is very intentional and is not treated as background. There's so many standalone tracks. It's so nostalgic for me. Like, these films have always meant like so much. I grew up watching them with my cousins, and then we would like play Pirates on the beach, except I wasn't playing. I was being for real. But I think that there's just so many beautiful moments in the music that don't get lost, and I think he does a great job of really bringing everything full circle and celebrating the music and the story. And I think that's just why he's so successful. It's like he's able to create this whole world feel rather than just treat himself like, he doesn't like kneecap himself. He's just like, I'm here. This is the music.
This is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, exactly. It has some of my absolute favorite pieces of music in general, aside from film. Like, I still get like chills just listening and watching, and I think that it's if you can sit down and listen to a film score, you definitely should. Like, it doesn't have to be this, but like, pick your favorite film and just engage in it in that way, and I promise you it'll make any film you watch so much richer. So it was just really great to be able to talk about it. Yeah.
And you had a lot of very helpful insight.
Oh, thank
into that
you.
Too. Yeah.
Thank you.
So would you rate it?
Oh yeah, definitely like best of the best.
S tier?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's one of my
Nice.
And in terms of film scores, I think this is like my favorite. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, Matt.
I would say this album, hands down, is probably one of the best soundtracks I've like listened to this actively.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I'm not the type of person to listen to movie soundtracks, so this kind of opened my eyes a little bit, and I think I really want to try analyzing more for a lot of more like movies that I very much enjoy. I mean, I always listen to the Whiplash soundtracks. That's like my favorite movie.
Yeah.
And it's just like jazz.
Yeah.
But like this, I don't know. Now I really want to try and analyze a lot more like OSTs a bit more like thoroughly.
Yeah.
Like Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Kingdom Hearts.
Pirates of the Caribbean are in there.
Yeah, they're in there. And then
I
the
hate that level
animators
so much.
The animators were like, let's just leave Goofy as Goofy. And then they're like having this really sad moment, and he's just in the back. Yeah, I'm like, oh boy. But,
there are multiple Jacks. Oh my god.
Stop.
That's crazy.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's also really made me want to rewatch all the movies.
Oh, yeah.
I loved how vividly I could picture like each of the scenes that I like remembered from this film. It's just an all around like really lovely experience. Whether I feel like if you've watched it or you haven't watched it, Hans Zimmer just does such an amazing job.
Definitely.
And, like, yeah. No, this honestly made me want to just watch more movies that like he's
Composed.
underscored.
Yeah.
Usually the ones that he composes are good. Like, that's like my rule of thumb. If like there's like a good film score, I know that that's an aspect, because like they took the time to
craft
to
that.
Yeah.
Like Skylanders.
Yeah.
Naturally, absolutely. No, I also feel like I kind of downplayed it a little bit by saying underscore, because like he just like delivers and goes like above and beyond, but it's not fatiguing either.
Yeah.
Like, even if to like the average listener, I know you said like they might say, oh, it sounds the same or whatever. No, like the nuances, like if you're really actively like listening to it, you can feel them.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think it really just is a testament to how amazing and how imaginative of a composer he is.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like movie soundtracks are kind of in a league of their own, but if we're going by that as like a category of records, I would put this in S tier.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
It's very good.
Hell yeah.
Even the pacing, even though I wasn't watching the movie, I felt like the pacing was really
Yeah.
good.
It matched.
Yeah.
I'd say I still have that kind of disconnect between like album and soundtrack. So like I'm looking at this from like a specific angle.
Yeah.
That probably isn't going to greatly affect my rating, because like listening to this album front to back, I got like a little bored at some points towards like the longer, more slower tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I assume like watching the movie, I'll definitely gain a better appreciation for it. But like it's still a very well put together soundtrack altogether. Like the instrumentation is brilliant. The way that he plays with themes and motifs and having them kind of like come back and intertwine with like different stuff is really cool. Like the highlights are beautiful. They're very high. Like Singapore is amazing. Like it very much plays with its concept very well while also implementing the influences beautifully. I like the weird instrumentation and just like the overall energy of multiple jacks, and then just like the nature of the Brethren chord and Parlay are just like really fun and upbeat. But like the slower somber tracks like Dead People in Boats, At Wit's End, and even a little bit of the climax track can get a little grating like when you just listen to just the soundtrack.
Yeah. Just sit there and
Yeah. So like that definitely affected my rating a little bit, but it's still very well done. So I say overall I'm gonna give it like a B tier.
Yeah.
But it might improve like after watching the movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to like put it in the
Exactly.
description. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like full disclaimer by
AJ changed his mind. He's actually an idiot.
No, we need our pirate names.
I was just about
That's
to say
true.
we can't
Yeah.
end with our pirate
All
names.
right.
All right, Dema, did you have any ideas?
I mean, for me, I have red hair, and people always called me Red. I feel like Red Emma.
Red something.
Red Emma.
Red Emma.
Yeah, you could spit that out real quick. Like if you were a pirate. Like
No, I know.
Why did you look at me like that?
I wasn't sure what you like.
I mean, yeah, that's good.
You can like go ahead and spit it out, like please. Out with it. What is it?
What's your pirate name, dude?
That sounds so inappropriate. No.
I'll be.
You have to say it like a pirate when you.
I'll be Salt Lick the Briny.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know why they call you that, but I
You'll
paint
never
a picture.
know, young lad.
Young lad.
If you try to ask me, you'll get the barnacles.
I thought you were gonna say you'll get the salt lick.
If you have to ask, you'll never know.
Do you believe in the Salt Lick?
You're brining.
Oh my god, I'm gonna pass out. That's so funny.
I
my
think
God.
my pirate name would be Dr. Lobster.
Oh my god. Are you the ship's doctor?
Yeah.
Also the cook.
Yeah. And I really have an affinity for crustaceans and the
Oh.
B-52s.
That's great. Yeah.
They found a rock. Wait, it was a doctor.
Yeah.
Dr. Lobster.
Oh my god, that's so funny. Oh my god.
Well, now you know our pirate names.
Yeah.
And now you know
true.
our thoughts on
Yeah.
2 pretty good albums.
Yeah.
Yeah. Emma,
Yeah, you did.
thanks for coming on the
Oh
show.
my god, thank you so much. This was so fun. I was
course.
so excited preparing for this. It
Yeah.
was so great.
You
to
brought
be able to talk.
such an insightful like angle.
blends,
Oh,
yeah.
thank
Both
you.
albums.
It was
So
awesome.
It was
So
a delight
much
to
fun.
hear.
Very informative.
Yeah.
Very philosophical.
That makes me so happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love both David Bowie and Hans Zimmer. So
And pirates.
Yeah.
I thought you were about to be
Yeah.
like, I love both David Bowie and,
And
David
pirates.
and David
I
Jones.
do love David Jones.
David Jones.
David Jones.
David-
David is my father.
Wait, but did you know?
call me David.
That's what
SpongeBob
I
me
believe
boy.
that's what David Bowie's real name is David Jones.
Oh wait,
that's
you're
right,
right.
yeah.
Oh my
It
god.
comes full circle.
Yeah,
I thought
wow.
about this.
Emma,
Yeah.
look at that.
Yeah,
Thinking
look at
12
that.
steps ahead.
Yeah, and I'm gonna make y'all a bingo card so you have it.
We're going to be more professional because we are lacking in that.
That is very true.
Not at all. This was so put together. I loved it.
Thank
it was
you.
so much fun. Yeah.
Glad you had a good
A lot of
time.
fun. It was fun being a guest on a podcast and
Yeah.
not like,
Running your own.
Yeah, really fun.
Speaking of which, be sure to check out Lick the Rapper
thank
as well
you.
as
It
Now
has
Entering the
to come
Pine
back.
Barrens. At some point.
At some
That's
point,
true,
it will,
yeah.
it will be coming back. Thank you. Yeah.
But check out the episodes that are out now.
Mm-hmm.
Be on the lookout for Now Entering the Pine Barrens, which should be out by the time this episode is out. It'll
Yeah.
be a lot of fun. And once again, Emma, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Glad to hear. Well, that'll do it for this week's episode of The Family Album. As always, I'm your host, AJ Tenari.
I'm Matt Glass.
And I'm Emma Strauss.
Thank you all for listening and for your constant love and support, and we'll see you next week for Tom Hates Albums.
Peace.